ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all pronouns in between. Thank you for downloading this episode of the Untitled Film Podcast. Me and Lee are joined by Paul Monaghan from the Maximum Power Up podcast to discuss Hot Fuzz. But as usual for our little podcast, we get a bit sidetracked and have a couple of conversations which go a little bit all over the place. So, yeah, if you've listened to one of these episodes before, you know it's par for the course. We go off on tangents. We talk about films that aren't necessarily that aren't necessarily relevant to the main topic of the podcast. And yeah, but I had a good time recording with these two guys. It's been a while since I've recorded with Lee, and even longer since I recorded from Paul. But, you know, nice to have a chat and a catch-up and be hopefully back on track for a regular schedule for the podcast. So, apologies that we've been a little irregular with our schedules, but, you know, that's the thing about schedules. They can be difficult to maintain, especially when you've got personal commitments. All you guys know, you've all got jobs, or hopefully you've all got jobs. You've all got commitments. You know what it's like. Life gets in the way sometimes. But yeah, we're back. Had a good conversation, had a good chat, good fun, good times, and I hope you enjoy it. So, thanks for listening. Hopefully you'll enjoy the episode. If you do, then please, you know, spread the word about the podcast, and don't forget to go over to Paul's podcast. Search for Maximum Power Up if you're into your games, video games, retro games. They cover all kinds of stuff. He's also got some great interviews from people who worked in video game magazines and the gaming industry in general. So yeah, go and check out Paul's work. You know, it's a labour of love that he's got over on that podcast going, and he's got some really, really good episodes that are definitely worth a listen if you're into your video games, or if you're just into listening to podcasts and trying to expand your horizons on things like that. So without further ado, we'll get into the show. That's it. I've got nothing else to say. Enjoy. Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family, choose a fucking big television, choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players and electrical cylinders. Choose a podcast, choose the Untitled Film Podcast. We'll take it from here. We're going, we're good, we're live, we're recording, so
we're back. So me and Mike are back together then. Been a while, Mike.
I'd say the dream team, but I mean, I don't think that many people have actually missed me looking at the download numbers, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
That might be my choice of the films, though. I've selected Mortal Kombat and Transformers.
Well, I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus, but if you want to take your share of the blame, then I'm quite happy to. You know, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I will be under that one. It's my fault.
Yeah, we're back. Well, I'm back. Paul is joining us once again. He is quickly becoming a de facto host on this podcast, whether he likes it or not. So
I'm too outspoken. I can't keep my mouth shut. You know, even though I'm not like it's not my show, I still end up leading sometimes. And again, I apologise for that and taking over parts of Mortal Kombat and asking your opinion in depth for Lee last time we recorded, which was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Paul. Don't worry about it. I enjoyed the episode anyway. The down wasn't been that good on it, but we had a laugh anyway, didn't we?
If there's one thing clear about this podcast is that there's no form and there's no structure. It's just
go with it.
We ramble, and then if we do get to touch upon the film that we're supposed to be talking about, that's just a bonus, I suppose. So,
yeah. If we spend longer than 10 minutes on the film, then that's an actual bonus.
Yeah, pretty much.
For this one, I had to come on because after you covered Shaun of the Dead, and then you were saying you were going to go through the Cornetto Trilogy, I think I snapped your hands off. Well, in fact, I didn't even snap your hands off. I just said I'm coming on for this one because
yeah. Lee sent me a message and said Paul wants to do Hot Fuzz, and I was like, Okay, I suppose. Yeah, there was no option given, so I thought, well,
The more
if
the
he wants
merrier.
to do it, yeah, absolutely, the more the merrier.
So Mike, what you're saying is it was a yarp.
It was definitely a yarp.
Yeah, it definitely was a narp.
Yarp.
No narps allowed.
Yeah,
But
no narp.
before we get into talking about Hot Fuzz, which is what we have gathered here to do, we might as well just have a bit of a catch up because it's been a while since I've been on the podcast with you, Lee, and I'm trying to remember now what well.
Was it John Wick last time we was on together? I think John Wick Chapter 2 or
something like that. So without going and looking, and obviously it's been a bit of time since I've spoken to you as well, Paul. So unfortunately you weren't able to make it to the meetup on Saturday just gone for the arcade club.
Arcade club. I'm gutted over that. I've done play Blackpool the weekend before, and also I was working the meetup day, so sadly that's the one that went.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way sometimes, but there'll always be another meetup. So.
Oh, I know, definitely.
Lee. Obviously, I saw you at the arcade club. You showed up rocking your snazzy Brett the Hitman Hart T-shirt I may or may not have produced for you.
Yeah, that's the second week now I've worn that. I have washed it in between, but it's the second weekend on the trot now because I wore it the first time. Because, well, for people who don't know anyway, Mike does his own little T-shirt printing business, and so I sent him a message and said, like, can you do me a print? Can you do me a T-shirt, Brett Hitman Hart T-shirt? Because he was in Manchester at the Comedy Store the week before, so I probably wore it on the day to go meet him. So it was nice to meet him, shake his hand, and had that T-shirt on as well. They had a few compliments by other fans while I was there, said they liked the shirt, so a pat on the back there, Mike. I think you did a good job at that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not every day that you get to make something for someone who's going to meet, I'd say it's fair to say that Brett the Hitman Hart is a bit of a legend nowadays. So, yeah.
I mean, it was a long day that for me anyway, because
you had the half marathon in the morning.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Lee's running up there to the half marathon in Manchester in the morning.
Which disrupted my work, by the way, that day. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. So you did a little bit, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I won't give you too much grief about that because you did manage to beat personal best by some considerable time, wasn't it?
Yeah, 6 minutes. Yeah, so my personal best was 1:46, which I did in, I think it was August time or something, in Southport, August time, Southport. So coming up to Manchester, I thought if I can get anywhere near that, maybe shave it off a little bit, a couple of minutes or something, or even seconds, I'll be proud. You know what I mean? Still beating my record. But yeah, when I came in, it was like 1:40, so I beat it by 6 minutes. So I was over the moon. Manchester 1:40 and Southport 1:46. So I was well over the moon. Didn't expect that.
Considering was the motivation, it's kind of that you couldn't wait to go and see Brett the Hitman Hart after
you run. So
you were like, the quicker I get this run over and done with, the quicker I get to go to
the Comedy Store meet him. But and the fact is, get it out of the way of the run so I can get that T-shirt on. Probably show it off. Oh yeah, so it was a good day all round. It was just a long day because they got there early, at park up at Salford Quays, and then walk it down to the run. The run started at 9. Well, it said started at 9, but I think by the time I got going, because I was in the second wave, the elites went. The wheelchairs went first, and then it was the elite runners, and I was the B, and then it went up to like CD. I think it went up to like F or G or something like that, or H. So I got told that the last runners didn't lead till about 9:30 when they actually started going. I think I was about 9:05 or something. I think I started running. So by the time I finished the run and got back to my car and parked up again in Manchester in City Centre, it was about 1:30, and I went and queued up the Comedy Store, and then I think we went in about 2:30 when I came out of there. It was about 6:30, 6:45 when I came out of there, and then like half an hour, 45-minute drive home or something back to Wigan, and it was like 7:30. I was shattered, not had anything to eat since the morning. I was starved. But it was a good day, all right, good day. Personal best. I met a legend.
Awesome.
Definitely. Good day.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah, me and Mike went to the arcade club last week as well, which was another good few hours spent there as well. Mates chatting, catching up, and playing arcade games.
You got there a little bit later than I did because I was meeting up with some of the lads from Get to the Chopper, but unfortunately they weren't sticking around all day. So
me and you chilled out, didn't we, later on?
Yeah, we just kind of like potted about, had a game or two on some really kind of like dubious games and
that addictive shooting game as well, that Namco one we kept going on.
Yeah,
just one more game.
Yeah. Well, last time I went out, I kind of got addicted to that. I spent a good hour or so just, doing that quick shoot thing. It's not even a video game.
Crash and grab one. Yeah.
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 So it's just kind of like a quick shot thing. So you draw the gun out of the holster, and little targets flick up, and then there's only 4 waves on it, so it's not kind of like wave after wave after wave. It's just 4 waves. Try and get the best score out of 100 people, based on time. So how quickly you actually shoot the targets down. And I managed to get 4th on one machine and 2nd on the other, with like doing all 4 rounds in 4.1 or 4.2 seconds, something like that. But it's really addictive, even though it's not a video game. It's more like a something you catch at a fairground or something like that. Because it's just those 4 rounds, and you're constantly chasing your time because it tells you your placement based on the time it's taken you. There's that carrot there to do better.
Yeah.
So...
the funny thing is as well, though, was it like I said, right, well, just have one more go, and then 10 goes later, I'm not having one more go, and you said that 10 goes ago. You're still going, but yeah, you beat me anyway, mate, because you got 2nd, didn't you, on one, and I got 3rd on it, so you just topped me, just.
Yeah, and I had found a game that I hadn't played there before called Total Carnage, which was...
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah, Super Nintendo, wasn't it? You can get it on the Super Nintendo.
I never had a Super Nintendo. I was a Mega Drive kid, so it was one of them. By the time I got a Super Nintendo, I was kind of like, buying it because I wanted one myself, as opposed to saving up pocket money and waiting for Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But so it was a game that I've never played before, but reminded me very much of like Smash TV, with it being a dual stick shooter. But the gore in it was something that I found quite amusing. Just the way that the gore's implemented. Like if you get blown up by a bomb, your guy kind of like explodes up towards you because it's kind of a top-down shooter. But his chest is blown out, so there's a circle blown out, and it looks very much like the Predator. When it blows Jesse Ventura's body out. So I got a good kick out of that.
Nice.
What
was that playing at the time, mate? What was playing? Was that Star Wars?
It's next to Star Wars Arcade. Yeah. So, good day. Enjoyed it. It was a shame that you couldn't make it, but a couple of the lads couldn't make it either. So it's one of those things. There's always another one around the corner, mate.
You'll be at the next one, Paul, won't you?
I will get over to one, but it just seems to be I've had so many things on, because things like I said, to leave Manchester Gamers Night, which is like a load of small local game studios where they show off some of the games and things like that. So I was going over there to meet up with a guy, Nick Clarkson, who works for a company called Merge that are only based down in Knutsford, but he's been on our podcast, so it's always good to like catch up with him, because obviously we've become mates, and since he was on as a guest, so it's obviously good, just a great chance to see what games are coming out. And then we had like FIFA 20 a few days before it comes out. The next event in November, they've got the new Star Wars game about a week early or something like that. So they always try to get one exclusive. So we always get an exclusive at every event. And then as well as that, like I said, I did play for the day, but I drove up this time, and because I know, Lee, you were asking, going, are you going to go? And I was like on the fence, because the thing is, it's just good to go and see mates. So I saw like Aaron White and a few of us from like Retro Collect and stuff, and I drove up and then drove back got back home at like 9:30 at night, because half the time it just turns into a complete massive piss up, and I didn't really want that, and it saves money as well, so it was just good to see everyone. And then there's just been other things like, we have a local comedy night in like Hinley. There's like nipping to the pub to go and watch football or something. And, like you've only got, I've only got a certain quota of going out tokens, at times. And, and everything comes like all at once, So, you just got to, a couple of things just go by the, wayside, sadly. But the good thing is, when it's something like this, it gives me a chance to obviously focus on a couple of films that I've not seen for a while, or a couple of favourites, and also try to watch a few things to discuss as well. So it's just good, because I've not really had much spare time, because I've been focusing on work, and we're getting a bit busier, because working at HMB, it's starting to ramp up, and It's building for a good future.
I mean, we're at the end of October now, so no doubt you'll be starting to put the tinsel up if you haven't already done so.
Yeah. I mean, basically, today recording this on the 22nd of October, and it's just been manic. People are now coming in to buying the Christmas presents, and like I said to Lee, we've had, and Lee's been in a few times. We've had big. Sorry, it sounds like an advert. It's not mean to, but we've had like big Blu-ray and DVD clearances and stuff like that, and now we've got a massive vinyl one and stuff and CDs. So it seems like the companies are behind us as well. And you read reports as well that they've opened like this massive store called the H&B Vault in Birmingham.
Yeah,
which has basically got one copy of every available DVD, CD, and everything like that in the country. So it's available in UK release. We've got it, and that's where the website's going to be based as well. So obviously, if you go along,
they've got one copy, or they've got a minimum of one copy.
Not a minimum of one copy. You know what I mean?
Right,
But basically,
I was going to be like, that'd be like a free for all if you only got one copy, and then like 10 people want the same thing. So.
Sorry, I should have basically made that a bit clearer. But it's quite good. And we've seen a few pictures. So if I'm ever down in Birmingham way, I think I'm going to go along to that and go and check it out. But then, like you said, we're opening a new store in Leeds after closing down, a slightly bigger one, because I think I've said on here before, and I've said on just generally, either on our show or whatever. But obviously, the way people watch TV, film, and stuff has changed. But it just comes down to, you don't need these free-floored music and DVD shops anymore, because you don't sell as much as you did. But what I have noticed, especially recently, I'm speaking to like a lot more collectors, because we've extended our collector's editions Blu-ray section. So that's gone from like 5 foot to 10 foot. So companies such as Arrow Video, 88 Films, basically, if you're into your horror, these names will mean something to you. And we're getting in like a lot more special editions. So it's people who are, proper film connoisseurs and, want to have something on physical. I mean, you like, we sold quite a few things like Toy Story 4 and stuff like that. And Godzilla King of the Monsters has done well,
What about Men in Black? Has that done well?
It's not done too bad. It's not one I fancied, though, personally. But it's just like every week now. I spoke to a guy on Twitter, Jason Arnott, who used to be editor of Crime magazine, and we just had a conversation over collecting horror Blu-rays, but like first editions, which come with a slipcase and stuff, because like people were coming in for the latest Rob Zombie film, Free from Hell, and they wanted the first release of it because it comes with a slipcase. And now, as soon as that went and it got snapped up in half an hour, it's coming now without the slipcase now, so it's like little things like that. And we've also got quite a few exclusive Blu-rays to HMV, a film called 8th Grade, which came out about 4 months ago on cinema, and like Mark Commode really raved about it. And again, it's like H&B exclusive. So
didn't you have them exclusive as well for H&B, like the Thing in the like cassette?
Yeah,
the VHS and stuff. Box. Lost Will one as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. And the other thing is, generally, my biggest gripe is, I feel like with nowadays, everything is using up your internet and streaming and things like that, so you've always got like your Wi-Fi on the go. And the amount of times you try to watch something, maybe not so much on Netflix, it seems okay, but if I watch something like on Now TV, Cinema Pass, half the time, you have buffering issues and stuff. But if you've got the Blu-ray, it's like, no problem. And I think the prices seem to be getting a bit better. Sorry, I know that turned into a 5-minute, flag waving H&B session. Other retailers are available, not that many, but, it's just that, as we get in towards Christmas, you see that physical media is not dead at all, and quite a few people are going, I've missed this, I've missed having something in my hand, and something to look at. And it's the same with things like games, but anyway,
just sticking with H&B, Paul, do you get many people coming in collecting like the steelbooks and stuff? For the steelbooks?
Not loads. You get a couple of the same regulars,
Yeah.
They all seem. The thing is, all the steelbooks now just seem to be the 4K versions. Now, if you went back to doing the Blu-ray standard Blu-ray ones and
Yeah.
steelbook, I reckon you'd sell a lot more. But it seems to be at the moment, you've over the last month, you've had things like Gremlins, Shining, Red Heat's just come out, and these just like your catalogue films on 4K,
Right.
like priced at 20 quid. But then like we've had Buy One Get One Free on 4K, which was a really popular offer. Like we'll have all experienced this when we've gone from collecting VHS to DVD to Blu-ray and stuff. Because I remember when I started collecting DVDs again from HMV, it would be like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and say Predator in a slipcase. And it was like 25 quid for them too. Then get rid of the video version.
I remember buying Terminator 2 Judgment Day DVD, and it came like a steel tin.
Oh, it's nice, that edition.
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember having a Total Recall Region 1 as well, which came like a moon.
Yes,
moon
ship.
You left it back.
Yeah. Mike, we lost you. Sorry.
No, I was just listening, mate, because I find it interesting. Like, I remember, like, HMV used to be the place that I would go to pick up, DVDs and Blu-rays back in the day, and it was always nice to get a steelbook, edition of a DVD or when they changed over to Blu-ray. It was nice because the artwork was usually good. It made it feel a little bit more premium, a little bit more special. I just with some of the stuff that you're saying there, and I don't really kind of want to rain on your parade. I just hope that HMV have kind of learnt from the mistakes that went before, because I think the issues that led up to that. I mean, you could see it was evident. It's kind of charging 25 quid for a DVD when Asda's selling it for 15. It's just not a market that they could compete with, but they just persevered. And then obviously what happened, and now they're starting to build themselves back up there. But I just think it's a bit of a dicey proposition because it's notable since they have come back that they have more heavily kind of like skewed towards the collectible stuffs for the vinyl stuff. I mean, it's great that vinyl is kind of like starting to make a comeback, and they're obviously taking advantage of that by having the collector's editions and the limited editions and exclusives. But I just think it's a dicey proposition to kind of hedge your bets on that and skew towards that. Yeah, it's just kind of like you need to appeal to the people who haven't got 20 quid to spend on a DVD or a Blu-ray when the same thing is being sold, down the road in Tesco's for 5-10 quid less. Yeah, it might not have a snazzy cover or a steelbook case, but people are after the movie, so don't forget that, and just be. I just wanted them to be a little bit more kind of reasonable with the prices, just on the normal stuff, and I don't want to see them kind of go the way that they've already gone before. So
just Paul, out of curiosity, what's the price of Toy Story 4? Just it was
$9.99 $9.99 on DVD. Yeah. Bearing in mind, Disney are quite strict at what discount they give. But $9.99 on DVD, it'll be that for about week one.
What's
and then
Blu-ray?
It'll probably go to Blu-ray's 15 quid, 14.99.
What's 3D?
19.99.
Right, so because I went to Asda yesterday, and they had it 18 quid for Blu-ray 3D.
Yeah,
so it's still
it's not a massive.
Save 2 quid, yeah.
But like my rule is, when it starts getting to 4 or 5 quid, that's when you notice it. But then obviously on like chart DVDs, you're looking, most of them are 2 for 20. But then it seems to have the pattern of when it goes on to Sky Cinema, it tends to go then from 2 for 20 or 13 quid on its own down to about 7 quid. I'm talking about the DVD price. Blu-ray then goes down to like a tenner, and it starts.
It's always going to, they're always going to start getting discounted at the point where they're becoming available on either on demand or terrestrial TV and stuff.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I just feel like, luckily, gone are the days where I started out, where, like you said, Mike, you'd have something like Legally Blonde at 18 quid. And, and you're like, Jesus Christ, because sometimes, you get in sales as well, but you still had to keep an 18 quid copy.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
mean,
just so you had
I'm
it
sure
on the
you'll
shelf.
remember it got to the point that it was only worth going to HMV when they had the sales on, you know, the
Oh, yeah.
the 5 for
free for
30 quid or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And
free
it's
for
like,
10 and
if
stuff.
you can afford to do this, because those sales seem to go on for a long time as well. So it's like, if you can afford to do this sale for 2 or 3 months at a pop, then surely you can afford just to lower the overall cost and just, you know, chance your arm and get people buying at a slightly lower price, who you might not get, you know, because like I say, that specific thing is on sale well, not on sale, but available elsewhere for, you know, a couple of quid cheaper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, like I say, the fact that they are going for the more exclusive stuff and the collectors is great, but I just hope they haven't hinged a business model around, you know, appealing to those people when, you know, if they were just a bit more reasonable with the prices overall, then, you know, they would get
I think
more footfall
last word, not really. Across the board with all retailers, I feel like, you know, when you have a look on Amazon, there's hardly anything ever in it price wise. You know, sometimes a quid or two, but obviously you've got the different overheads. But anyway, we're not here to discuss that. But no, Mike, obviously you've not been on for ages, so I'm taking over. But what have you been watching? What have you been watching?
It's a good job I made a big cup of tea, so I can just sit back and let you take over on the podcast.
Do you know what? This is the thing is, right? It's like when we ask like original Chris Smith on our show. So Chris, what have you been playing? And he takes about half an hour, and everyone else can tie it up in 5 minutes. Now you've not been onto your own show for, you know, a good few episodes.
Well,
so
I recorded it. Don't forget, I did do that episode with Chris Manning. So, there was a few things that I picked up. I can't remember what I discussed on there, but you're right. It has been a while since I've been on, and, you know, I have watched a few things. Off the top of my head, I mean, the good thing is about being with Cineworld, having one of those cards, is that when I buy or pre-order my tickets, they've got this implementation on their app where, like, when you're pre-ordering it, the email goes through to my Gmail account and then automatically adds it onto my calendar. So I can just go back on my phone and check out what I've watched. So I watched.
So this episode is sponsored by HMV and Cineworld.
And Cineworld. Get your 25% discount also at Frankie and Benny's, Chiquitos, and where else?
Love film. Love the Entitled Film Podcast.
I watched Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, which was just more of the same crashy bash.
I can imagine.
Bullshit.
Once
Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I seem to be in the minority in not thinking much of, aside from the acting performances by Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. I actually think Brad Pitt stole the film out from under Leo, but, you know, that's one of those things.
Yeah.
It Chapter 2, it's good. It's not great. It's not as good as the first chapter, but
no chance.
As I've kind of been saying to multiple people, every now and then I'll get a text message off one of my mates here and there who've watched it, and this is dog shit, whatever. I actually got one, was it last night or the night before, off Andy, one of my mates over in Hull, saying Chapter 2 was absolute garbage and he was close to turning it off.
Really?
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's good. I think it was always the trickier part of the book to kind of like adapt. Because you're getting into the kind of absurd, you know, with the maturing the turtle and then the ritual of Chud, which it's not really a kind of cinematic kind of idea. It's something that works much better on the page as opposed to on the screen, and it's harder to have those kind of base fears and identify with adults. Than what it is to identify with kids, because when you're a kid, you all seem to, you know, everyone at some stage when they're a child seems to have, you know, the fear of the dark, the fear of the boogeyman, what's under the bed, what's in the closet, creepy clowns in sewer drains, all that kind of stuff. You know, they're more kind of the fears that you had as a child is more general as opposed to the fears that the adult characters in the books have. So it's always harder to identify with and empathize with the adults. Even in the book, it's a flaw of the book. You know, all of the stuff with the kids in the book is the more interesting stuff than when they've grown up. And, you know, But that said, I didn't think it was a bad film. It's nice to actually see a horror film that is trying to be a horror film. It was a little bit overly reliant on, the old jump scare here and there, but I thought Bill Skarsgård was a good Pennywise. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Was it better than you expected it to be, Mike?
Would
you say? It
was probably around about what I thought it was going to be. I always knew it was. I always knew it was going to be the trickier of the two films to actually make.
I mean, I watched part one about a week before going to cinema for part two. Part one, I loved. I was expecting an awful film, and I feel like for 15s, it was very, very violent and gory, which surprised me. Yeah. And again, it made me laugh a little bit, and again, it kept me, kept watching. And then with part two, apart from the Chinese restaurant scene, and oh god, I'm just trying to think what else that really stood out. I suppose it's towards the end with them going through the or opening 3 doors, the scary, very scary, and not scary. Those are really the only standout bits, because by the end of the film, I thought it had been on 15 minutes too long. And it
was far too long.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, it was knocking on the doors of like 3 hours.
Yeah.
They put more kids stuff in there.
I know. But I felt like that worked. I was happy enough with that. What I didn't like was any scenes that were meant to be scary, and like the bit where Bev going back to her old house and having an old woman living there. I'm not going to give out spoilers, but this should have been a scary part, and I was just pissing my sides. And I found myself laughing more in that film when I should have been more scared and, like grossed out by it. When I say grossed out, I don't mean grossed out like, say, Brain Dead, where it's just over top gore. It just basically, it didn't do what part one did. Nowhere near as well. It was still a good film, but I think when I step away from it, it might just push to, say, a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say that's
just was part one. I was more like 8, really going on 9. But I'm looking forward to getting both parts. But then you're looking at 5.5 hours, compared to the 3-hour 1990 version.
Well, what Andy Machete's said after the release of Chapter 2 is that he's working on a not so much a re-edit, but kind of like doing the film start to finish, a 5-hour cut of the film, where he kind of rearranges certain things and just does like a super cut, his preferred kind of cut of the film. So that'd be interesting. I don't know if I'd want to carve out 5 hours to sit down and watch it. So maybe he'll put an intermission in there somewhere. It'll be disc 1 or disc 2 on the Blu-ray set, but. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing kind of like his extended cut. Because he said there's a few things that he would slightly change and alter just to improve the flow of the film, which I think is needed, because like there's that many characters, it felt a bit jumpy, especially when reintroducing all of the characters as adults again. It was just kind of like, oh right, okay, here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one.
Dead quick.
Yeah. So but I didn't think it was as bad as what some people are saying. But I mean, different strokes for different folks. What I didn't like, because I watched this the next day, was that Good Boys.
A comedy, is it?
Yeah. Well, it
wasn't.
It pretends to be a comedy, but
I didn't Sky Cinema written all over it. That's like, I'm not spending a penny on this film,
And then I watched Ad Astra, which. Visually impressive, but just kind of like plodding. Felt like it was trying to say things that it didn't really have any substance behind it. There was a sense of self-importance to that film, which I don't think it necessarily earned. But again, Brad Pitt was very good in it. He's had a good year so far.
Did you watch that High Life, another sci-fi one with Robert Pattinson?
No.
Even because that came out about March time, and that got really, really, really good reviews. You have to have a read of it. I watched the trailer, but because we got that in at work. It came out about a month ago, and that's not sold amazingly well because I don't think it was advertised that well. But like again, it got really good reviews. And yeah, that's still on my to watch list at some point. But yeah, High Life. Yeah.
Check the trailer out on that one. Then.
Yeah.
I've just googled it and it was released last year. But
last year, really?
Yeah, no, last year. Released like 9th of September. Oh, that was at the Toronto International Film Festival. So it screened at the film festival last September. It was released on the 7th of November in France. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a French director, Claire Denis.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's meant to be like a good sci-fi film. If you're into your sci-fi. But again, I can't quote 100% on it because I've not watched it yet. But never heard a bad word.
Well, it's got the future Batman in it, so I suppose I'm gonna have to try and get myself pulled around to the idea of him being Batman. I'll check it out. I'll put it on the list. Why not? What else? Rambo was a steaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah, I've heard about that, Mike.
Oh my god, so bad. Doesn't feel like a Rambo film. It's just the worst kind of film that you can make. Just cynical, not very nice. I mean, to the point where it's actually quite a nasty film. The way it treats its characters.
Was it cheesy as well, Mike?
Wasn't cheesy in the slightest. No, it was no, absolutely not. It was very kind of nasty in the worst possible way, just because of how it treats its characters and what it does to John Rambo, and it's just a cash grab. And it's interesting because like he came out and said this is the film that when they were bringing Rambo back to the big screen with Rambo, this was the film that they wanted to make originally. But all of the stuff that was going on in Burma, I mistakenly said Cambodia in my car park review, but all the stuff that went on in Burma, that's what prompted him, because apparently he had 2 scripts for 2 different Rambo films, and he wanted to make this one, about the Mexican cartels first, and then when all of the shit that was going on in Burma caught his eye, he decided to flip the scripts around and make the other one first and then this one after the fact. And it was like, this one shouldn't have been made at all. Terrible film. Apparently we got a cut of the film which is like 10 or 15 minutes shorter than the American and Australian releases. So I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was. I can't find any information as to why we've received a shorter cut of the film.
Either way, does it make you want to watch it? Does it? An extra 15 minutes, you said the film was that bad?
No. Well, it could be the case that it improves the film, because I can't see it making any worse. If I'm honest, because like I say, it's such a cynical and nasty film. It's just...
Was Stallone, did he have the full... Was it all for Stallone? You know what I mean? Did he direct it? Did he write it? Produce it and all that stuff? Was he...
He wrote it. He didn't direct it.
He didn't direct it?
No. I can't remember the guy. I did make a note of it, but I can't remember the guy's name. Either way, I would skip it. If you're a fan of like Rambo or Stallone or the character, skip it, because it doesn't have any bearing on what's come before. Doesn't take anything that's happened in the previous films and moves forward with it. He doesn't feel like Rambo. He feels like he's playing a different character entirely. It's just it betrays everything that about that character. And I'm not a Stallone fan, as I've mentioned on the podcast before. I'm not particularly a Rambo fan. So but even that said, I feel like it has betrayed, the previous installments of the film. They should have left it alone, where, he walked back to the farmhouse and returned, home spiritually and physically and all that kind of shit. That was a decent book ending for that film.
But hasn't he come out now, Stallone, and said that he's going to do another one? There's rumours are going around it that even though that's been titled The Last Blood, he's going to come out today and said he's going to do another one. So
to be honest, I think the way that this film has been made and shot and how it's no doubt performing, I don't think he'll be able to. I don't think anyone will have any interest in it whatsoever, because it's such a bad film. I'd probably say it's, aside from the film that I watched at the cinema today, it's up there for the worst film of the year. But
right.
Yeah.
Moving on. What's next?
Rambo. Then I went and watched Zombieland last week. Double
Any
tap.
good? I need to see it.
Yeah, if you like the first one, you will probably enjoy this one. It's not as good as the first one. I came out of the cinema thinking, oh, that was a decent ride. I enjoyed that. And then a couple hours later, I was like, did I enjoy it? It's very much like fast food cinema kind of
It's
thing.
not needed, is
Yeah,
it?
It was probably
10 years
needed
too late.
yeah, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late in the day for a Zombieland sequel that no one kind of like asked for, and that's probably down to them trying to make a TV show which fell through, and then all of the cast becoming stars in their own rights because, I mean, it was 2009. And if you think back to 2009, Emma Stone wasn't really a star at that point. She was just the chick out of Superbad. But now, she's got her own kind of career and taken off, Oscar nominated and all that kind of stuff. Oscar win? Did she win for The Favourite? I don't think she did she? I can't remember. Definitely.
Someone did. And was it Olivia Colman?
Olivia Colman, yeah.
Definitely won something.
Jesse Eisenberg, he's been Oscar nominated now because Social Network came after that, and Woody Harrelson, he's Woody Harrelson, you can't go wrong with him. So yeah, it's fun but very forgettable, and I don't think it's as good as what I thought it was after I walked out of the cinema. So take that to mean what you want. And today I've been to watch Gemini, man.
Oh God, I've not heard good thing about this.
I want to hear about this, mate, because the other day at the Arcade Club, I said, "You're going to watch that?" You just went, "No." So I want to hear what your thoughts behind this one. So what made you go watch it in the end?
I had a couple of. It was the whole X-Men Dark Phoenix thing. I have a couple of hours. I've only heard bad things, so it's like, how bad is this fucking thing? Let's go and find out. And yeah, it's, as it turns out, it's pretty fucking bad. I have put a Car Park movie review up literally 10 minutes before we started recording the podcast, so that's on my YouTube.
Is it as bad as the Rambo Last Blood?
It's I'd say it's between that and this for the film that I enjoyed the least this year. Easily.
And you can throw Dark Phoenix into the mix as well, though, can you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't go to the cinema to watch it. I downloaded that. I may or may not have procured an illegal copy of that because there was no way I was spending money on that. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of a film that I enjoyed of Will Smith's when I was, doing the drive back home from it, and the best I could come up with was Men in Black.
Enemy of the State's good.
No, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
20 odd years ago.
iRobot, that's decent.
No, it's not.
No,
no, it's not. It's a real wasted opportunity of a film. It's got
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, and the first Men in Black, which then he subsequently decided to ruin with Men in Black 2 and Men in Black 3. It's bad. It's really bad. It's kind of the de-aging stuff that they've done.
Yeah.
In this film, they haven't gone the Marvel route, which, a lot's been made of the de-aging stuff that Marvel's done in their films, and I think it's successful at times, and not so much at other times. And I pointed to Michael Douglas in Endgame. I didn't think he looked very good in Endgame when he shows up in the 70s. But Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, he looked really good,
Yeah.
With this, they've not used that technology. From what I understand and what I've seen, they got Will Smith to act out both parts, which is fair enough. And you'd think, okay, they've got the motion capture reference, so they can just kind of like erase a wrinkle here or get rid of a line there and smooth his skin out. But instead what they did is actually create a full CG character, which they overlaid on top of his performance.
Oh, nice.
So it's not so much de-aging, it's literally replacing him. And it doesn't work, especially when you've got those two characters, young him and old him, in the same frame at the same time, because you can see what he really looks like and what his skin texture looks like and how the light interacts with his skin. And then you've got the young version of him, which is, admittedly impressive, but it's not fooling anyone. And then when his face starts to move, or he starts to talk, or the character starts to move, the illusion's completely ruined. Like if it was just a film of still frames, and it just was a picture of young Will Smith, CG young Will Smith, not moving, not talking, whatever, just a picture of him, a still frame, then yeah, it's actually pretty convincing. But the moment that motion is introduced, the illusion's shattered completely, so it just doesn't work. And there's a lot of the film that takes place in the dark and at night, or in dark lit areas, and that can hide a lot when it comes to CG. There's a reason why in the first Jurassic Park, the T-Rex, when it first attacks, is shot at night. It's because, darkness is your friend. You can hide a lot of kind of like things just in shadows and all that kind of stuff when it comes to CG, try to trick. And even in those scenes where it's dark and, the CG is kind of lit in a very specific way, it's just not it's not a convincing effect. And for a film that kind of has heavily promoted itself on pushing the barriers of CG and, this is what we're able to do now. We've got we've got a 20-year-old Will Smith straight out of Fresh Prince in our film going up against 50-odd-year-old Will Smith. It's just, no, it just doesn't work. The story is shite. Will Smith is just Will Smith. I found it really difficult to see him as a character. And I think that's kind of like his failing as an actor now. Will Smith is Will Smith. Will Smith never disappears into the character that he's supposed to be playing. He's always Will Smith.
Yeah.
Even when he was playing Muhammad Ali in Michael Mann's Ali, it was Will Smith playing Muhammad Ali. And, it's...
same in I Am Legend as well. It's Will Smith again.
Yeah, it's another Will Smith film. And the story's just kind of like beyond ridiculous. The structure of the film is just... It feels like 75% first act and then 25% is the third act. It doesn't feel like there's any middle act to it. It was really weird because it was like set up, and then all of a sudden we're at the end. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So, yeah, avoid, really.
What was the budget on that, Mike? It weren't something daft like 500 million, were it?
No, but it was a lot. I think it was 180, I want to say.
I can't remember what they said on, the Simon Mayo, 5 Live, Mayo and Commode podcast. God, I can't get words out.
Here we go. I just Googled it. 138 million.
The thing is...
With 100 million advertising on top of. So call it 240 million.
Oh,
this has been in the works for years. It's only now we've got the technology, but it seems to be...
The technology's not there. I'm sad to say it's not there. It really isn't. There's something about the human face that we are hardwired to recognize if there's something wrong with it. It's that uncanny valley effect. And that whenever a digital character doesn't look right, look at the lips. It's always down to the lips and the eyes. There's something about the way they move the top lip that is very unnatural. Even if the lip syncing's perfect, like I don't know what it is about the top lip, but the top lip kind of rolls over the teeth the wrong way. And it's such a step back. I mean, if you can make blue cat people look realistic in Avatar, then you would think you'd be able to, do a younger version of Will Smith. But I think it's probably down to the method that they've chosen to fully recreate him as a digital character, as opposed to using whatever the technology is that Marvel uses when they're de-aging someone. It was the wrong way to go. And that's on top of the fact that the film itself, story-wise, acting-wise, all of that kind of stuff, is just boring. It's just an absolute mess of a film. And this is directed by Ang Lee, someone who really should know better.
Yeah, to make something look the part. So, so we can look forward to the Untitled Film Podcast, Gemini Man special, coming very soon. 2 hours in depth.
Mike, it's not been left on a cliffhanger, is it, for the sequel?
No, thankfully not. No,
thank God, yeah.
No. He seems to be doing lots of one and done films now. It's like, he did that After Earth with his son. That was just a one and done. And I don't think he's interested in sequelizing unless it's Bad Boys, because he's quite happy to jump into Bad Boys 3 or Bad Boys for Life, as it's known. That looks terrible as well. It's just like, go and be a YouTube star, Will. That's because you're not rich enough, so you might as well start a YouTube channel, get millions of followers, and make money off that. It's just fuck off,
Get jiggy with it, mate. Get jiggy with it, mate.
I'm not jiggy with it.
Well, do you know what? I've just looked at his filmography, and when you said, "Oh, he's not really done anything," I think the only film I slightly enjoyed really was like I Am Legend, but I've only ever watched it once. And then when I look at everything else he's done, I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
For everything,
it's a career full of meh. And I wasn't a fan of I Am Legend either, because the effects in that, for the Darkstalkers or whatever they call them,
the zombie things,
they were so badly executed, like terrible CG in a film that kind of hinges on them or the threat of those creatures being real. And it was like, no, they just don't. They look like the Mummy, the Arnold Vosloo Mummy from 2000. It's
It's like where you can compare them to say the what they call in Blade 2.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that, because I did actually mention the
Reavers. Yeah.
Because there's another thing with the CG in this film with the fight scenes and stuff. The characters don't have any sense of weight to them. They're very floaty.
Right.
And I did reference, that shot in Blade 2 where they're fighting in front of the kind of fog lamps. And Guillermo del Toro on the commentary said he fucking hated that shot, because there's a shot where someone does like a flying kick, and he was like, I fucking hate this shot, and it's because it was keyframe animated and it wasn't motion captured, and blah, blah, blah. We're still there, unfortunately. And there's the bit where he flips around on the scrambler bike as well. The way that flips around, it's as if that's made of paper. It's just everything about the film, just avoid at all costs.
So, Lee, what have you been watching?
I'm
sorry.
As you probably know, Paul, you're at work, as you're a big Walking Dead fan. It's back on, isn't it now? Season 10.
Yeah. I still rushed back to watch it last night, and
I've not watched it yet.
The Arsenal match.
Oh right, well there you go. So I've been watching that. I've watched the first 2 episodes. See, episode 3's was out last night, wasn't it? And I've not got around to watching that one yet. I'll probably watch it after we've finished recording here now, I think, tonight, and get that watched. But I don't know. They've shown a soft side, haven't they, to Alpha?
Yeah.
With the daughter. I didn't really like that. It's from what I've seen anyway in episode 2, so I'm not liking that at the moment. So just see which way it goes. I'll stick with it anyway, because I stuck with it, like we said before, Mike, me and you, that I've watched every season now, so I might as well stick with it to see which way it goes, unless it, you know what I mean, and unless
it needs to end.
I think they need to wrap it up now, get Rick back into it, and just wrap it up and bring the Fear the Walking Dead characters into it, and just finish it off.
I just feel like any show like that shouldn't have 10 seasons. It's too long. And I feel like if you can't tell a story in 7 seasons, 6, 7 seasons, then you're just basically just blagging it and making it up as you're going along, and just going, and then they did this, and then did we go back home? Then after that, no, they didn't. They went to a river first of all before going home, and it's like you're just tacking shit on now. This is crap.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit though, there's been 2 major things what impacted me, but when I've watched 10 seasons or 9 seasons, I say, because 10's on now. But the obviously the lineup with Negan when he baseball batted and he killed 3 of them there
4 years ago now.
Yeah, that was striking at the time. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? How brutal is this? And then the last season as well, with all the heads on the posts.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one coming at all, and that was like, oh fucking hell, they killed him off, they killed her off. I just didn't expect that one. So that was like, but I take away from that, there's nothing else really what stood out. You know what I mean? As such, but as I'm going to stick with it anyway to see which way it goes now. And then, so sticking with TV series I've watched, the other one is Stranger Things, because I started season 3, got about 2 or 3 episodes into it, and then just kind of like, oh, I'm not into this. But I thought, well, I'm gonna have to watch it, get it finished, because I know Mike, he previously watched all 3 seasons, so I'm gonna do the same and finish off season 3. So I watched that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it could have been wrapped up in maybe 2 episodes early. In a way, I thought it got a little bit dragged on a little bit too much, but I do like the characters, and we mentioned this the other day, Mike, didn't we? Like the way Arcade Club, that we like the 80s vibe from the film, you know, the music and stuff they use, and but yeah, enjoyed it. Just that's another one there as well. Now I think it's been greenlit for season 4, so I think as well. I think that needs to get wrapped up soon as well, because I think it's getting dragged out a little bit now. Yeah, it's been left on a why, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're going to do a season 4. Season 3's ended, so I'll watch it anyway to see what they do with that one as well, because I've invested time into it. That's the thing. You've sat and watched these now for 3-4 years. Walking Dead.
8 episodes though isn't bad. 8 episodes of Stranger Things. You just go, yeah, I can cope with that.
Yeah, you can get it
16 episodes of Walking Dead. And you could do it in 12.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's a bit too much.
That's why I stopped watching
just trying to
in
think.
season 2. But they've actually wrapped up the comic series now, haven't they? They ended the comic series back in, was it June or July? And so that's been running for, what, a dozen years or so, something like that?
Yeah. So hopefully that'll give them the nudge, wink, wink. Like, come on, let's wrap up the TV series now. The comic book's wrapped up. Let's wrap this up now as well.
I think they're realising that people are bored of zombies now. So
I know, 10 years ago was a long time ago, you know, and this goes back to the Zombieland, you know, chat a few minutes ago. You know, it's like it's things have moved on a lot, really have.
Yeah. What was that? There was some other 2 zombie programs. Was it Z Nation? And there was another one as well, but I can't remember the name of it. I never watched Z Nation, but it had bad reviews, so I stayed away from it.
Yeah, same here. I can't remember what the other one is. Oh, there's one called Black Summer. That was quite good. That was on Netflix. And then I've been watching more of a comedy one.
Zombie.
Zomboat.
Oh, right.
Which is basically set in Birmingham. And it's basically proper play for laughs. And it's just because it's 20 minutes, just with 2 girls and meet another 2 lads and be like, shit, Birmingham's to be taken over by zombies. And it's just like, oh, well, we've seen this on Walking Dead, so you've got to aim for their head and stuff. And they do what you do in real life if it happened, but it's just an easy watch, you know. So 2 episodes into that. But anyway, sorry, Lee, what films have you watched?
I'm trying to think now. I don't think I've been watching many films. Trying to think. You go, Paul. Anyway, I'll just have a quick think of your talk. Can you tell us what you've?
Film wise, I did Joker yesterday. That was a big one.
I've not seen the Joker.
Have you watched it, Mike?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let's try and do this as spoiler free, as possible. And all I'm going to say is, right, with Joker, I think if this had to come out, basically, I would say it's a very, very good look at today's society, but set in the like 70s, early 80s, I think it's set. But I feel like with a lot of the issues that I looked at in that film, it left, obviously it's quite unsettling, which I know there's been all the press going, people have walked out and lost their minds and stuff. And it's like, well, you know, I don't really buy into that.
Yeah, it's interesting how they've kind of they've created this narrative around it, how it's harmful and you know the stuff that it touches upon with mental illness is going to spark a riot of people going out and, you know, copycatting and it's
not
like
that at all.
No, I don't understand where this narrative's come from. I've seen much worse films than this, and when I say worse, I mean in the sense that they're irresponsible in the subject matter that they're dealing with, and to attach this kind of importance and label it with this kind of this is a dangerous movie, I think is really irresponsible on the part of the media. I think by attaching those labels to the film, you're actually doing a disservice to the causes that you're actually, you know, trying to protect. And it's a very dangerous thing, because I didn't at any point sit down and watch this film and feel the need to go and paint my face, get a gun, and go and shoot anyone. I mean,
me either. No,
yeah,
no, I totally agree.
Yeah, people. Let's face it, in today's society, it's a very common thing to have moments where you feel like the character in this film. I've struggled with kind of bouts of depression, and I don't want to say mental illness, because I don't want to take away from people who have got legitimate mental illnesses, but I have had instances where I've been very, very down in my life and very angry, and feel very disassociated, and had dark thoughts and all of this kind of stuff. And I've just kind of, I don't know. I've never at any point felt like something like a film could tip me over the edge where I would want to go and hurt people. It just doesn't enter into my mind like that. It just doesn't make any sense to me how you can attach that to a piece of art. And it's not as if the film is even trying to draw attention to mental illness. It's not. It's a fucking comic book film, and people are losing sight about that. Yeah, it's about a very vile character, but I don't know. It's just
I didn't see it as a comic book film. The only time I knew, yes, I'm in a comic book film, is any time it said the word Gotham. The way I felt, it was more of a quite dark drama.
Because it's Taxi Driver for 2019.
Yeah.
It really is.
Sums it up.
It really is just Taxi Driver. And I mean, I'm going to skew more towards the actual film itself, but I felt like the film fell down when it was actually touching upon the comic book roots. I was like, it doesn't really need this. And I've said this to a few people, that I think the film.
Okay, it could be at the weekend.
I think this, they could have just put the film out, called it Arthur, not the Dudley Moore film, but just put the film out, called it Arthur, and had it be a portrait of Arthur, Henry, portrait of a serial killer. You could have done that with this film, and it didn't need to necessarily be Joker. But I think it was the way to get the film made. By attaching it to, an established kind of character and all that kind of stuff, which is fair enough. But I think the film was strong enough to stand on itself, because the story that it tells is well told, and it is a good film. I'm on the fence as to whether or not it's the masterpiece that people are calling it. I don't know where you stand on that one, Paul, because that was the first thing that Andy Godoy said to me. He thought it was a masterpiece, and I kind of disagree. I don't think it's there.
I absolutely loved it, because I think, again, like I say, when you said, like, when you've had like battles with depression, I suppose it still comes into that mental illness umbrella. And I don't mean like, it's not like, say you had, say, schizophrenia or like that extreme, but then again, just that sort of battle going on in your head, and again, speaking from experience and stuff, and when you see not going into it too much, but when you see Arthur having his counselling sessions and things like that, like, and you think, you've been in that position, and you go, right, and you can sort of relate to that. And I just think of it going, well, I think it's quite a sad story, and for someone, like you say, it's, if you think, like, Christ, I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it, because recently I watched I, Daniel Blake as well. So if you take away the superhero thing of Joker, and it's a man struggling with mental illness and all these things that have gone on in his life to then obviously tip him over the edge and become this supervillain, more or less.
Yeah.
And then when you have a look at, say, I, Daniel Blake, which is, again, a man who is being failed by the system, and it's also the day-to-day life and struggle that he has to go through because of a failure of the system. And recently they're about to release, I think it's called, what is it now? Sorry We Missed You, another Ken Loach film.
Yeah.
And that's based around a gig economy. So again, that's meant to be a tough watch as well when that comes out. And I feel like these are the similar type of films. Now, what I was wondering, and this is a bit snobbish of me, so I was trying to be like, some people walked into cinema and I thought, there's no fucking way that they're here to watch like a serious drama, because that's how I saw the film. I saw Joker as a serious drama, and a lot of people go, Joker, superheroes, yeah, you might see a glimpse of Batman and stuff like that, and it's like, no, it's not a superhero film. This, like you say,
if you go looking for that, then you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, the last 10 minutes, I said, there's a part where it ends, and Mike, you'll probably know where I feel like it should end, and and the last 10 minutes, and I feel like I've got this issue with 10 minutes of the film, I just go, nah, it should have ended here, because I feel like that's a bit more sinister rather than the last bit tagged on,
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, and then I think that's the main thing that I watched, and I've also been watching American Horror Story 1984, which, if you like your 80s slashers, you need to watch that because it's fucking brilliant.
Nice.
It ticks all my boxes.
What's it on, Paul? Is that Netflix?
It's on hang on, is it on Netflix?
No, will be
it's
at
on,
some point. I'm
FX.
sure they're all on there, aren't they?
Yeah. The last one went on Netflix, Apocalypse. But at the moment it's on FX channel, and it's 5 episodes in now, and it's been absolutely brilliant. The soundtrack, like you said with Stranger Things, the soundtrack amazing. The 80s slasher vibes, your Friday the 13th and stuff like that, and Nightmare Vacation and all these early 80s slasher films. I was just like, oh my god, this is brilliant, because I wasn't bothered about American Horror Story, but because they're mainly standalone stories, that one just, oh Christ, it ticks the boxes.
I might delve back into that, because I came away from American Horror Story.
Same here. Yeah. At the third one, at the witch one, the Coven, I just went, nope, can't be bothered. But because it was a slasher and I saw the trailer to it, I went, yes, and it's just perfect. It's just got the vibes, because I'm into like me old slasher films like that. It's like, yes, and whoever's made that series, they've done it right. And Emma Roberts is in it as well.
Oh yeah.
And if anyone hasn't watched Scream Queens on, it's either on Amazon or it's on Netflix now. It's on one of the two. But there's only 2 series of Scream Queens, and that I'm going back about 4 or 5 years now. And it's got Jamie Lee Curtis in. And if you're into your horror, you need to watch this, because it's absolutely brilliant. It's a proper comedy horror piss take of things like Mean Girls mixed with Scream. That's how I'd explain it, because you've got a group of girls in it called the Chanels, and there's different Chanels being killed off, and it's just fucking brilliant. I'm going back a few years, but because we're coming up to Halloween time, I know it may have been by the time this comes out, but Scream Queens was brilliant, and it was only 2 series as well.
Is each episode standalone, Paul? Is it?
No. Tells the story all the way through.
Right, okay.
Really, really good. I loved that. That's like I was like gutted when it ended.
I mean, episodes, Paul, is there in a series?
I'm thinking 12 per series. There's not too much.
Yeah.
But there's only a few people I know that have seen it. But it ticks my boxes. But that's more or less it.
Yeah, I just want to know what your guys' thoughts were on Dark Crystal, the TV series, because I've started watching the first episode the other week, and I've not been back and revisited it and continued. What's your thoughts, Mike? You've probably seen it.
Yeah, I have seen it. I think visually it knocks most big budget films. It's a shame. I mean, the look of the film is just absolutely phenomenal. To say that it's a Netflix show featuring puppets. I think the production value on the whole kind of like show, the run of the show's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, because they could have easily given that whole CGI overhaul, couldn't they? You know what I mean? But they kept to the.
Well, CG has been used, which you know I'm kind of fine with, but it's never at the expense of the actual world that they've created. You know, they've used it in very kind of like clever ways, and you know, you don't have the Gelflings kind of like flying around all the time. You know, when they have used CG to do certain things with the characters movement wise, they've done it in a way that seems kind of grounded and could have probably been achieved back in the day with blue screen or green screen or whatever. They've done it in that kind of manner. The story is typical Netflix. I think it's a few episodes too long. They could have done with being a little bit more concise, but I enjoyed it overall. I enjoyed it, and I think Podlin Hupp is by far my favourite character in the Dark Crystal overall, you know, and I'm going from the movie to the great character. Doesn't really speak much English. He's got his own kind of little Podlin language, but you know the emotion and the kind of the zeal and zest for life that little Podlin has is just kind of like, you know, it puts a smile on your face every time he's on the screen. So it's faithful to the film in looks and tone. I think the cast that they got to reprise or to take over the voice roles
did a good job.
They do a good job. You know, Simon Pegg's in there as the Chamberlain, and you've got Jason Isaacs. Hello to Jason Isaacs. You'll get that if you watch. Good, really good. It could have been so much worse, and I'm actually looking forward to. I'm surprised at how they actually ended the show, and they've actually, because I thought it would have been a one and done. But I'd like to see another season out of it, so I'd definitely be there for that.
Good. So I'm going to go back and stick with that then, because I said episode 1, I've only watched nearly all of that so far, so I'm going to go back and stick with it. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it anyway, Mike. Cause I know
just a little bit too long, but that's
the Netflix deal, isn't it?
They've got this awful habit of, you know, stretching the TV shows out for, you know, 3 or 4 episodes too long, and they need to go the Stranger Things route and have, you know, a more concise kind of maybe 8 to 10
episodes.
As opposed to 10 plus. But that's my only criticism on the show. The rest of it, you know, it's really, really good. So yeah.
Oh, there's just 2 more films actually I've watched, because I only watched them because of the untimely passing of Sid Haig.
Oh
I revisited House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. It's been a few years since I've watched House of a Thousand Corpses, so I revisited that one. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It's grown on me over the years anyway, but I think Devil's Rejects, I think that was the better one of the 2. I've not seen the Free from Hell yet, because that's had mixed reviews, so I'll watch it, but I'm in no rush to watch it. I think if that comes up on Now TV or Netflix, I think I'll watch it that way. But as I say, Devil's Rejects, I think that still holds up pretty well, and House of a Thousand Corpses it's for the Captain Spaulding in that at the start. I quite enjoy his character, but it is what it is, that film.
I'm surprised that even had a cinema release, because it was on cinema for about a week or two, because I remember going and watching that. But
what year was it? Was it 2003?
4, 03, 04, something like that. So it's 15 year old.
Yeah, I don't recall it from when me and Mike were working at the cinema, so I gather it was just after we'd left.
I don't want to sound like a cunt, but you say untimely as if, like, you know, he was 50. The guy was 80.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and
he had a fair innings, mate. You know, so
yeah. I think as well. I think it was a bit of a shock that he passed away. You know, at the time as well, because you don't want to hear that stuff, do you? These
no, you don't. But I mean, this guy, he's had a hell of an innings, because if you go back and look at his filmography, he's been working since the 60s.
Yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah. And he was ill. Was he ill? I think he was ill, wasn't he? He was sick.
I'm not too sure.
He's not just killed over and died, as I think he was.
No.
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight on it.
Should we discuss Hot Fuzz? We've been going like an hour and 20.
That's part of the course for this, mate. I know. This is how we roll. So
I know. It's usually half catch-up waffle and half featured film.
If we get half of the featured film, I think we've done well. Yeah. So
anyway,
okay,
let's get into it, guys. The little hand said it's time to rock and roll. Go on, you're gonna say, bring the noise.
Oh God, I love this
film. Yeah, so Hot Fuzz is our featured film that we're going to be discussing here from 2007, starring Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, directed by Edgar Wright, written by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, and is the middle film of what has since been dubbed the Cornetto Trilogy.
Yeah, the boy Cornetto.
Yeah, this came... When was Shaun of the Dead? 2004. So
7.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. So a couple of years after Shaun of the Dead, which is a reasonable amount of time for like a follow-up, or I mean, I know it's not a sequel, but you know, it's definitely a follow-up to Shaun of the Dead, considering that pretty much everyone who was involved in Shaun of the Dead has kind of come back. Yeah. And The World's End came a little bit.
It was
later
quite a big. It was
yeah,
quite a big.
It was a bigger gap, wasn't it?
2013.
I'm just looking at 2013. Yeah, there we go. So that was 6 years. So
I worked at Serco then when that came out, because I remember being very, very excited for it. Going watching it one day after work. Sorry,
for the World's End.
Thing that, World's End. Well,
we'll save the rest of that story for when we actually covered the World's End, because no doubt you're gonna throw yourself into that one as well. So.
Oh God, I love it. I'm already on it, you know.
Yeah, me too. But who saw Hot Fuzz at the cinemas, Mike? Did you see it at the cinemas?
Well, yeah. I remember, because I've told the story when we covered Shaun of the Dead. I watched Shaun of the Dead and I watched Dawn of the Dead on the same day, and you know, Shaun of the Dead. Instant classic, easily one of the best British films made ever, I would go so far as to say. And then because like I say, this was only like 3 years after Shaun of the Dead coming out, it was you know, a relatively short wait. You know, you started hearing rumblings that they're doing another film, they're coming back, and this one's going to be a buddy cop movie, an action movie set in kind of, you know, a rural town in Britain. And then you see the trailers for it. It was like, yeah, I'm there day one as soon as it comes out.
Yeah,
just basically off the strength of Shaun of the Dead, and you know, I wasn't let down. I'm trying to remember where I went and watched this. I'm pretty sure this was a venture over to the Trafford Centre, the Odeon over at the Trafford Centre. Yeah, because I can picture the screen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Trafford Centre when I went and watched this, and loved it. And you know, I might as well get it out of the way instead of burying the lead, but I actually think this is the better film out of this and Shaun of the Dead. Excuse
me too.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
I mean, this should be good.
Well, I think that Shaun of the Dead for me is very good in Act 1 and Act 2. Where it falls down is where it goes into the horror towards the end of the film.
When you get to the Winchester,
that's when it starts to stumble a bit, because the transition between comedy, which came before, into, because it turns into a flat out horror at that point. It gets very dire for the characters towards the end, where you know the traps in the pub and they're all looking like they're going to die, and the transition between the comedy over to the horror is a little bit clunky. You know, it doesn't mix as well as what it could have, but I suppose that's what they were going for. Whereas Hot Fuzz, I think all of the lessons that were learned, you know, through the making of Spaced and Shaun of the Dead, kind of culminate in Hot Fuzz. I'd say this is actually it's a perfect film. There's not a thing I can fault this thing on.
Yeah, it's a more rounded film, isn't it? Completely more rounded film for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Paul, did you watch it at the cinema?
Yeah. I went to the cinema. It was it wasn't like UK premiere, but basically I worked for HMV at the time. Still, well, this was back in, I think it was about February 2007 when it was on at cinema. I guess because over at the old Manchester HMV, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost were going there doing a meet and greet. Awesome. And then they were showing the film over at the Printworks and they were going to do a Q&A with it. So because I worked for HMV, I got sent over there, and they said, "Oh, right, we can get you into the meet and greet showing, and also you can queue up to meet them." So I was like, brilliant. So I had the day off work, got to like the Man 90 store, as it was, the big one on Market Street. Took me Shaun of the Dead to get signed, which came with this limited edition 2000 AD poster, which was basically 2000 AD type artwork, but based on Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And also 2 massive Hot Fuzz posters to get signed. And also the Hot Fuzz soundtrack I had with a slipcase. So I really went overboard on this. So then, I think it must have been about 4 o'clock we turned up. So I've been there for, Christ, about 7 hours waiting because I wanted to be right near the front. And so I remember because I had me, Nintendo DS playing like an RPG, just to keep me, entertained for as long as possible. But anyway, so I got to meet them.
Was you by yourself, Paul? Did you meet them by yourself?
Yeah, I was on my own. So then it was like to meet him at the table, like, oh, thank you, big fan of Spaced and Shaun of the Dead, get my stuff signed, and then went over to go and watch the film and absolutely loved it. And then as soon as it came out on DVD, bought that and, loved it so much. My dad was in the police at the time, so I bought it for my dad and he loves it as well. And it's just one that we both quote a lot, but, oh, Christ, I love this film, like 12 years on. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. I watched it at Horwich View Cinema at Horwich there with my ex-girlfriend, 2007, and I absolutely just loved it. Brilliant. And then I think not long after that, I think somebody put it on a torrent site, a legit like DVD rip or something like that. And only a few weeks later, because I remember downloading it from a torrent site, and I just had it on my PC at the time, and I could just watch it on the PC, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the comedy, everything was spot on. The acting, you know what I mean? Because when you look at Simon Pegg's character in this, how completely different he plays it compared to Shaun and Shaun of the Dead, it's just, you know what I mean? It's spot on. And then you look at him again in The World's End, how he plays that character there. What's he called now in that King?
Gary King.
Gary King, yeah, completely different, and you wouldn't think it's the same bloke because he's perfect. He's perfect at playing a different character.
It's basically Slacker Sean going nowhere to Nicholas Angel, where it's so straight up and so unbelievably stiff and strict. And then with Gary King again, he's just more of a loser than Sean, really.
Yeah, know? Oh yeah, definitely. Just a pisshead in it.
Yeah. But sorry, I've got him taken over. I apologise. But with Hot Fuzz, like, I mean, it depends how you want to do this. Do you want to go through, chronologically through the film, or do you want to talk about like what it is about the film that you like, or?
Well, where do you want to start, Paul? Because this has become your episode. So let's just get into it because
okay.
For people who don't know about the film, it basically Nicholas Angel, Simon Pegg's character, is this very uptight, career-driven, can't switch off, overachieving police officer who is so good at his job that he makes the rest of the force look bad. So the decision's made to transfer him out of the city to Samford, which is a quiet rural town where they think that they can just get rid of him over there, out of the way, and he won't make everyone look so bad by being so bloody good. And throughout the course of the film, he uncovers quite a sinister underbelly to this quiet, quaint little town. And that's where the hijinks kind of ensue.
Yeah.
So, that's the synopsis of the film. I mean, the thing is about this, which is so clever, is that the actual plotting of the film is so precise. Like everything that is set up in the first, acts, and a lot of the stuff that's set up in the second act of the film is paid off. I mean, this is when I was watching this again the other night, I was kind of like, I was so happy with Endgame because of how it paid off so many kind of like story strands throughout all of the films in the MCU. But this kind of did it first in a weird way, because I mean, yeah, it doesn't have 20 odd films to actually reference and go back on and pay off. But what it does do is literally every single, almost to the point where every line throughout the course of the opening act of the film, which is setting something up, turns out to get paid off at the end of the film when the characters are actually, swapping morals and kind of like getting traits off each other. It's so well done and well kind of like thought out.
I feel like as soon as this film starts, and like you said, he gets moved over to this small, sleepy little village, and it's only like this more or less 2-minute montage of time passing of Nicholas moving house, and there's just this like little bit where it's obviously traveling by train, waiting for a train at the train station, and you're seeing like the phone signal getting worse, just to give you that sort of his battery going, everything. And then when he arrives in Sanford, the way I look at this, it starts off, it's like it used one of the big influences of, like, say, The Wicker Man, because it starts off dead unsettling. It's at night time. It's like a horror film. The setup for this film is like a horror where, it's just a boring town, everything goes, and then obviously it builds into action, but also has a very horror, sinister undertone.
It does have that Wicker Man kind of feel towards the end of it, especially like when it introduces the MWA and the fear of the fear of the others. The whole this is our village. Very Royston Vasey in a way.
Yes.
This is a local town for local people kind of thing. And here you've got this outsider coming in who is a figure of authority in a way, and then stumbles upon this almost. It could be a cult. In another film, this could feel like a cult.
No, definitely. I mean, with I think one of the first things that jumps out to me about this film is straight away. Again, you've got these great British comedians. You've got Martin Freeman. You've got Steve Coogan. You've got Bill Nighy, and straight away the jokes are coming thick and fast. Because right at the beginning, where you've got like trying to talk to Nicholas for the first time, going like, all right, Nicholas, how's it going? How's the hand? And then it's like, well, I'm not happy with your decision. I want to speak to your boss. So next up it's Steve Coogan. How's the hand again? It's a bit sore.
Where he just slides into frame as well, and then he's kind of, you want me to bother the chief? It's very.
Get him down.
That's one of the great things about Edgar Wright films, is like the way he transitions within scenes. From. That's just a conversation, but he has transitions between the characters that are involved in the conversation. And like you were mentioning before, you've got the sequence where he's actually going from the city out to Sanford and, waiting for the train and then the taxi. And it's a mini montage. And that's the style that Wright brings to stuff like that. Yeah. Because there's just an energy. That's just a conversation between four people where, he's being transferred out. But there's an energy to that scene, and like you say, the jokes are so well timed in that scene, and I suppose that's probably down to having like utter professionals in like Martin Freeman and Steve Coogan. They know how to draw a line out and get the most out of a joke. So, and then Bill Nighy comes, and it always makes me chuckle. Bill Nighy, when he just does this, when he basically says, you can't just make me disappear, and he's like, I'm the chief inspector, of course I can. And he just does this little wrinkle on his nose, just a very Bill Nighy thing, where just a little twitch of his nose and a little wrinkle in the side of his mouth, and it's just kind of like, fucking. I think
what made me laugh so much, and it's something that obviously I wouldn't have picked up first time, but then it's stuff like, oh, well, you've always wanted to go and live in the countryside, haven't you? It's like, well, when did I say that? It's like,
yeah, I know. Said that to
it's
you.
Just like, such a time I heard you say that. It's like we've been listening in and snooping on him.
Yeah, because it's a conversation between him and his girlfriend.
Yeah, Yeah. You know,
but the way he actually, because when
brilliant.
he starts reading out the transcripts, he changes the way he's almost muttering it to himself. So
Yeah,
he can't,
whisper it, yeah.
yeah, so funny.
I
Go
mean,
on.
no, I think like arriving in Sanford again, sticking just first of all with a horror tone because like it's nighttime, it's a mysterious town, and you go, all right, it's meant to be a boring town because that's how it's been painted, and straight away you look, he's like looking into the town, and it's like, well, what's going on here, type thing, because he's arriving in the hotel to check in. Yeah, there's a hag and fascist and everything.
Yeah.
But what I love is because I come to check in. It's like, check in, but you've always been here.
Always been
so
here,
that is that sort of dead creepy 70s horror, you know, like Hammer horror. Where it's like, what do you mean? And like the music and tone changes, and it's like, oh right, oh it's you, no, blah blah blah. I thought it was such a person. But then when you see, it's just the little things like you were saying, Mike, everything you see in that first 10 minutes in Sanford comes to play. The church, the water fountain, the hoodies hanging around. So it's like I was looking at the hoodies and they're staring back and things. Walking into the pub for the first time, and obviously, you know, like the little things like going, we're not with the the pub owners going, we're not fans of a local chip.
Yeah, he asks, so do you mind if I
55? She's only
can read the paper? We're not fans of the local fish wrapper, are we?
Yeah. It's brilliant. Like, we got your age wrong. And they mentioned that joke about 3 times throughout the film. Same one when we talking
said
about...
I was 55 when I'm actually 53.
And, you know, it's like, hilarious. You know, but then, like, when it's mentioning things like the actors that they have in this, you know, it's like, you played a cadaver.
Such a thing. Straw Dogs.
Yeah, in Straw Dogs. Yeah. And you're like, that mentions a couple of times because when the big thing like shows that it's all a massive evil cult type thing, and again those same points are brought up again where you're like, this is brilliant. It's like how petty that this is like one of their massive pet hates. You know, like why have you got it in for these people? You know, it's like because they got the age wrong in the paper, because they're not happy with the bloody theatre choices. Where you're like, and you're seeing like, I know I'm jumping way forward, but you're just like seeing Nicholas Angel just going, why the fuck are you killing everyone for like really rubbish misdemeanors like this? Because obviously he's come from a big city where people are being stabbed for serious things, robberies, whatever, and this is just some sort of like petty little village type things to keep it like a massive sinister cult, you know. But I know I've jumped forward there, but it's just these little seeds planted early on, and I can't think of any other films that do it so well in a comedy. You know, it's a very, very clever comedy. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to wrap this up now because far from it.
No, but I mean, it is. It's one of those. It's like it is one of the best examples of like a setup and payoff. And there's multiple examples of setups and payoffs in this film. And like I say, the amount of references that it manages to get in there, not only to kind of like films that it's, you know, it's doffing the hat to certain films. You know, you've mentioned Wicker Man and Straw Dogs already. There is, you know, even down to casting Edward Woodward, who was in the Wicker Man. You know, and we're not talking. Sorry, Chris Manning, we are not talking about the Nicolas Cage version of the Wicker Man.
Sorry, I've never heard of that film.
Thank God.
Yeah, we'll just skip on past that. So I apologise if you're listening, Chris, but we're not getting into that one. But yeah, I mean, it's everything is so precise in the way that it sets up and then it pays off towards the end, and it's done in a way that it's taking the piss out of certain kind of conventions in a way. You know, it's gently ribbing some of the stuff that it's setting up, but then it's paying them off in the way that you would expect, you know, the conventional way, but and actually being quite respectful to the stuff that it's taking the piss out of in some scenes as well.
Yeah.
You know, you got the big references to the act when it because it in a weird, I hadn't thought about this until you actually said it. The way that it holds on to the kind of horror feeling, I suppose it is transitioning from Shaun of the Dead, which becomes a horror film, goes from comedy to horror. This is still taking the horror elements and then transitioning into an action film. And I hadn't thought about that until, you know, you just actually brought that up. So that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because he goes more action towards the end of the film. And post, like you said, Paul, I think the start of the film and then halfway there's that horror element, and then when Nicholas finds out who he's up against, I think it hits the whole action scene then.
Yeah.
When he uncovers
and it sets up, the Point Break convention, and then the Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, yeah.
And
you ain't seen Bad Boys too?
Yeah, because you've got the scene where Danny's asking him all the questions when Nicholas first comes over, and they're kind of forming this kind of tenuous friendship between each other. Danny's intrigued by Nicholas because he's kind of he's a bit of a lovable oaf. He's kind of childlike in a way, and how he's managed to get to be a cop is beyond me. I suppose that's the perks of having your father being the police force there. He's just been gifted the job.
Yeah, that's a joke, isn't it? Like when they arrest him early on, where it's like open cell 4. It's like, oh, you're right, Danny. Like with what's it called, Bill Bailey's character. He was hilarious in it because it's basically two twin brothers just with horrible haircuts.
Yeah, different hair.
Nobody tells me nothing.
Nobody tells me nothing.
Nothing.
I
also like that.
How good? Sorry, I was just going to say, how good of a drunk does Nick Frost play when you first meet him at the pub? And he's
I was going to say that. Yeah, when the scene with him pissed, and he nearly reverses back into Nicholas Angel, and he dabs it away, and he goes up to him, and he's like, "Right, you're next. You go into the police station. Where is it?"
I know, yeah, which is brilliant because that's it. Even though he's not officially started, he's still on the job. So showing what type of police officer is, where everything is so by the book. Going to pop cranberry juice. I want to know what's going on in the local paper. It's everything. It's like you say, he doesn't switch off. And he's already had this conversation, hasn't he, with Kate Blanchett. His ex.
Spoilers, Paul.
Sorry. Okay. I know. But it's sort of like little things like that. And I think there's only up until the big, closing scene and everything, there's only one moment where he switches off from the job, and that's when he actually agrees to have a pint in the pub.
Yeah, and he goes watching Bad Boys too.
That's the only time, because then they have that the close bonding moment that you do get in these action films, because obviously then it's got to show the bit that of Point Break that Danny's on about and is going on about, but like you said with Danny, is obviously in awe of him because it's a cop from the big city, oh, you've seen this, and he's like, he plays it like a child, it's like, have you ever done this? Have you ever done that? Have you ever fired the gun? Have you fired 2 guns? Have you ever just gone, ah?
Well, they even go to the point of sitting in with the children when Nicholas goes to do a talk at a school.
Yeah,
they sit Nick Frost's character Danny with the kids, and then he asks a very childlike question. Yeah. It's like, is it true? Is there a place in the human head that if you shoot it will explode? That's something that a kid would you'd expect out of the mouth of a kid, not out of the mouth of a policeman officer.
If anything, he looks at Nicholas as a hero, his ideal hero, doesn't he? Because later on in the film as well, he starts kind of like Nicholas starts rubbing off on him. When he tells him things, he's saying do this and do that, and then when he says like, oh, we can't take handouts from people that we've already arrested, well, jog on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's kind of picking up like little traits off Nicholas Angel.
Well, it's a typical buddy cop movie in the fact that they both start taking traits of each other on. That's the moment where Nicholas actually decides not to have a cranberry juice in the pub and actually have a beer. That's come after a moment between each other, and it started to show his character softening, and that's purely because of the effect that Danny's having on him as well.
Didn't he start to soften a little bit? Do you think when they went to watch Martin Bulwer's play? Because when he turned around and he said we'll go now or something like that, and he turned around and said, yeah, drive safe, and you're like, oh, drive safe, that's the guy we arrested for speeding. He kind of looked like he was changing at that point. He had a smirk on his face.
That's exactly it. That's the first point where Nicholas Angel is kind of relaxing a little bit. It's the first time that he actually smiles And that's purely down to Danny being, oh, that was so cool. And I don't think up until this point that, Nicholas has ever had anyone say you're cool or something you've done is cool. So, he's smart. He can't help at that moment, but just kind of like, smile. He breaks for a second and the wall kind of comes down. And then that's when they go back and, have a few more beers and start watching a few films. And you have the shot where he, Danny opens his, the doors to his DVD collection and
by the power of Grayskull.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, Danny said that first where he walks into the barn, they get sent out to a barn to investigate someone cutting hedges.
Thumbs.
Have you got a license for that? I have for this one.
Oh, it's Mr. Filch. It's Mr. Filch from Harry Potter, isn't it?
It is, yeah, that's right. And then he goes in there and Danny sees all of the guns and the sea mine that comes back at the end of the film. And he's like, by the power of Grayskull. So, that's just kind of like the echo from Nicholas's point of view when he sees all the DVDs and he has that reaction back. So it was interesting when I was doing a little bit of research on this, that Nicholas was supposed to have a female love interest.
Yeah, they call Victoria.
Yeah, well, they put her out of the film, and instead of just cutting her out completely, they gave a lot of her dialogue, or the dialogue between her and Nicholas to Danny, to his character.
Yeah.
So there's that bromance going on, but there is a scene where they kind of sat on the sofa deciding which film to watch first, and Nick Frost does this thing where he looks at Simon Pegg's, mouth as if they're going to kiss for an awkward... It's one of those things, when two people are going to kiss in a movie, they look at each other's mouths and then they, the heads close in a little, get a little bit closer and all this kind of stuff. And
they were pretty close. Yeah, they were close. They sat side by side when they felt
they were, yeah.
And they do
that, and it's kind of like a willy won't kind of kiss, and then it's just kind of this uncomfortable kind of subtext that's going on there, but they don't go down that path, obviously. They just kind of form it into a bromance. But I did find it interesting that they kind of, they gave the romantic kind of conversations or the intimate conversations to Danny, and the subtext is that there is kind of this latent kind of like romance going on between these two. So, but let's not dive into that because that's just opening a can of worms.
Well, I'm going to take it down the horror side of it because obviously we just covered the the buddy cop movie side. So going down the horror side, and romance. So basically, obviously, bloody hell. You've got like the killing starts. So this is where you actually start seeing a dark side of Sanford, and like any horror film, accidents. Accidents. Which I just love how they're so adamant that these are accidents and not murders. Murder. It's like, I know it's just jumping forward, but there's that bit where Nicholas is going, such a person, what? And the Andys are going, oh, was he murdered? Yeah. And we just went, no. Of course he was murdered. And
then Danny slams a pound into the swear box.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny.
but that bit's amazing. But yeah, when it comes down to it, meeting Timothy Dalton, who plays an amazing part because he's like having so much fun. He's got that sort of bad guy mustache type thing. He looks a part of this. He's a bit of a sleazy. Sleazy businessman, but straight away it's dropping those like, ooh, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
Yeah,
that's another thing that they do with this. They play with the dialogue. That's how he introduces himself to Nicholas, isn't it? It's like, lock me up. I'm a slasher. Yeah, I'm a slasher of Price. Also, they find out he's a manager of like the local Summerfield.
Yeah, and even the scenes later on as well, though, when you've got the boat when he gets his house goes on fire and he gets blown out and he dies there, and then the next day when they're at the crime scene, he drives past and he
playing fire,
and he's like, and he gives him the wink and stuff, so he
drives past when the
Matty Bullock gets head cut off.
When they get
playing Romeo and Juliet by Dire Straits, and it's those sort of things, and this is why it's so clever. And it's just, again, the slowed shots of seeing him and just like, oh, right, what's gone on here? You know, like, and he knows full well. And that's what I absolutely love, because like further on where they feel like they've actually got Skinner, and basically they've got him banged to rights, or so he thinks, and they go to question him and then arrest him really in his offices, and he's got one up on Nicholas. You know, it's like, oh, well, if I look at your leg, you've cut it.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Your other leg.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I love
And
about
it's like,
that scene is that Nicholas has got this entire story, and reasoning behind why Simon Skinner has killed Martin Blower, Eve Draper. What's his face?
It was Blower. Was the guy who had the house.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So basically, Simon Pegg, Nicholas Angel has literally, he's sussed out the mystery. He's figured it all out. And
Tim Merchant. Was he the other one? Tim Merchant.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the way, sorry, you go on.
Right, just throw that in, it just popped in my head.
So he lays it all out, and it's all there. It all makes absolutely perfect sense. You know, he goes through all of the papers, and he finds out, he uncovers this plot about them wanting to, knock off these people because of a bypass that's going to come through, and the lucrative land deal that's going to be done if this plot of land gets sold off to this person and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's all there. That is all there under the surface. It's a legitimate, motive for him to actually kill them. But all of it is just it's a red herring.
Yeah,
I know, and that's
but it's so well thought out, because all of that is there. It's every piece of that as well is set up. All of the articles are in the papers, and you do get flashes of them when they're reading the papers. You see it on there, to the point where some people thought it was a goof of the film because bypass was spelt incorrectly, even though that's a plot point that turns up later on in the film. But people were saying that was, oh, did you know that you spelt bypass wrong on the paper when he was reading it? And it's like, that's the whole fucking point, you idiot.
It's like very, very clever.
They go through all of that trouble to set up all of that motive, and you find out it's just a fucking red herring for the actual real reason, which is just to keep,
Sanford to Sanford.
Well, they wanted the award, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to win the best village. Yeah.
Like killing off their number one flower ranger. It's like, well, we can't have it. No one can.
No one can.
Jesus Christ.
Getting rid of Eve Draper and
Martin Blower
because they're terrible actors and they're killing Bill Shakespeare.
I know, because it's like, what? Oh, William Shakespeare. Because it's like, you go like, oh, there's been another murder, and it's like, no, killing the language.
Yeah.
But then because that whole bit when we're talking about telling Nicholas, oh, we've done this, well, we're terrible actors, and you do them all whispering, just going, oh, terrible actors, yes, and all agreeing. And every
did you notice
time you
as
hear
well,
the great to go,
towards the end of the film where it's getting to the climax, there is actually a poster for Romeo and Juliet after them two have been bumped off, and the pictures have actually been replaced by the guy who was in,
Oh my God! I'm gonna have to rewatch that bit.
Yeah, so in the shop window, you see a poster for Romeo and Juliet, and it's the woman who played the cadaver in I'm Suspect, and what's his face, who was an extra in Straw Dogs.
That's amazing. I mean,
so everything is literally everything that they reference in the film and set up is paid off. Everything.
Well, the other thing, the one death we've not talked about, like you said, is Tim Messenger. And obviously he's killed off because of his awful reporting. And the thing is, you even again have Skinner going up to him, where it's like, oh, you're going to make sure you report this right and spell it right for once, aren't you, Tim? Type thing. So it's always like a bit of a threat there. But that entire scene where it's got to meet him at 3:00 is so much like the Omen type thing.
Even that there's that part when he's on the stage as well, and Nicholas Angel there, and he's saying, "Come on!" He calls out his number, and Tim Messenger, you're up. Your next. Your number's up. Come on.
Yeah, and you just like, and then just seeing it, and then the door opening, the hooded figure, and then just like, as soon as he just waves to Nicholas, and it's just like splat. And I know, obviously, that's like the homage to, like the Omen. I don't know which death you could put it down to, because there's
the Patrick Trout, with the thingy coming down and just piercing him, isn't it?
Yeah,
the spear.
you've also got the pane of glass in, which is another great death. I can't remember if that was in the second one.
Oh, the first one. The
first one again, right? Because that was
with David Warner in it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's that amazing horror feel, and that's more or less where the horror stops. Apart from obviously just the unveiling of, it's just basically like a very sinister village cult type thing, and then it goes into
because you've got the
action again.
They do the chant, don't they? The greater good, and every time Nicholas says the greater good, then they chant it again.
I know, which
pack it
is
in.
Amazing. And then obviously seeing Danny's dad Frank come out, which is always like, he's a mastermind behind it type thing, because he goes, I used to be like you, Nicholas, and that is still the same as a horror film, that vibes where it's like, but then I saw obviously how things need to be done. There's no place for good people around here.
He's even dressed as an old school Bobby at that point, like a Victorian era Bobby, and so it is evoking kind of like the Hammer feel, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Just because he's got an older uniform on, when he walks around the corner.
And seeing the dark side of that, bearing in mind at the start of the thing, it's a case of, Danny's going to be buying the ice cream. There'll be no shortage of Chunky Monkey for next month. You're like going, oh my God. And it's like, why are you buying ice cream? Oh, he lost his hat. Why are you buying ice cream? Oh, he was basically just drunk and stuff. And it's just dead stupid things. Yeah. And just seeing how basically rubbish this police force is, because they've been fed, these are just accidents. And then you've got Olivia Colman in quite an early role, just playing a blinder with these dead, cheesy 70s sex, like Carry On type lines.
Oh, yeah, she's been
I like a good midnight gobble and all that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Nothing wrong with girl on girl.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, and it's just like play for those laughs. So again, it's showing.
I don't think we'd be allowed to do that now.
I know.
Culture
it's one of those things that I get moaned at. But it's not even that long ago. But I think when you start building towards like the end of that, and it just unveiling everything, because it's got my favourite line of Krusty Jugglers. And as fast as because I love the idea, Krusty Jugglers makes me laugh my head off, and it's already talked about when you see Edward Woodward talking about things like the what was it, the gold statue?
The
living statue.
Human.
He goes, here's footage of him by the hour, and he's still fucking moving. He's got everyone else. And it's a case of like, he's being a shame upon the town. And then because the other great line, and this is what me and my dad quote all the time, is a case of like, as fast as you could say, what's the word? He goes, we were knee deep in dog dirt and gypsy scum. As fast as you could say gypsy scum. Yeah, that's it. Gypsy scum. And
Traveller.
It's just travelers and stuff. And then when he falls down, he sees all these dead bodies, and like obviously the
a great big bushy beard.
I know, which is amazing. Great big bushy beard. I just love it. There's so many quotable lines. But then to see all the dead travellers, the dead hoodies, the dead underage kids in the pub,
and you're like, the farmers down there as well. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is with those underage kids, they were happy to have them in the pub drinking, bringing money in. At the next shot, they're dead.
Well, that's what they say. If you remember when he kicks them all out, and then the next day he's speaking to Jim Broadbent, who is the chief of police, and it's like we'd rather them be in the pub so they're not out getting in trouble. So that's why they were happy for them to be in the pub and drink underage, because otherwise they'd be out there and they would be buddies and they'd be graffitiing. But it's interesting after that point that Nicholas, when he uncovers all of this stuff, he actually in a way recruits the kids by giving them all of the cans to go and do that, because he knows that by recruiting them and ending this in a weird way, he's actually saving them from that fate, because he knows what happens to kids in that town.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, in that bit where Nicholas is killed, inverted commas, by Danny, which Danny.
How did you feel about that? Yeah, because I was when you were going on there, I was going to ask, like, how do you feel about that revelation that Danny, in a roundabout way, knew what was going on in Sanford? If he didn't know to the extent, Because he said, well, I didn't think they were doing this.
Yeah,
he knew something was going on.
Your dad's Judge Judy and Executioner.
Yeah.
My dad's not Judge Judy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Judge Jury and Executioner.
Yeah.
It's like, my dad's not Judge Judy.
Yeah.
Because, again, because it's like, he sees it like as a game, again, quite childlike.
Yeah.
But the fact is, he must be in on it a little way, like you say, because obviously he's...
Well, there is a betrayal there because, he stabs Nicholas and then... Yeah, fair enough, he gets him out of town, but he's still... willing to commit murder,
Yeah. Well, he
at least in the eyes of his dad and that. So
yeah,
because I was I'm not sure how I feel about this revelation at the time, but then, I just because the film's built up enough goodwill, that's one of the things that I just kind of like overlooked.
Well, it's basically that's just the follow-on, I think, to from the gag before stabbing himself in the eye. So obviously that's obviously played up to that, but it's the next bit which I love because the two characters who are so smug. It's the Andys, the DCs, and what Dave I love,
Spall and Paddy Considine.
Yeah, and it's a bit where it's like, who carries guns around here? Farmers. Who else? Farmers' mums. You know, and
everybody
and
their mums are packing guns around. Like who? Farmers. Who else? Farmers'
mums.
Yeah. That's such a great comedic double act.
Yeah.
That's a shame that they've not been in anything since together.
I know, and it works well. But that really scene where the farmer is shooting at Nicholas when he returns to his town, village, and then...
and he kicks him up.
Yeah. And basically, like, she gets smacked because she's pulled out a gun as well. And it's all these gags because this is leading into the shootout. So you see the old guy with a massive bubble coat and going, well, what's his story? And he's just skulking around all the time. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, God, he's actually carrying a sawed-off shotgun in this massive bubble jacket. And this is what I love about it because it's all these old folks. And again, by sending the scally kids into the shop when it's like one at a time, and you're seeing someone shooting at Nicholas, and this is very horror film, and they're picked off because all these kids have gone in and just gone yank this person away from the window shooting at Nicholas. And I'm like, that's brilliant. And again, another horror trope is where, it's every single main character who's been introduced. So like even the vicar, where it's like, my son, we must stop this violence and things, and then he just goes, oh, fuck off, and then again, that's like quite what you'd see in a horror film. But no, again, it's the comedies turn straight up again, straight away. And in that last 25 minutes, it does sort of suck everything together by, like you said, Mike, paying off every single gag that hasn't been referenced again since. It was tick, 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 tick.
Even the swan that they're not able to fucking get all the way through the film turns out to be the hero of the film.
And again, we've not even discussed the Swan because again, when I see that, I love Stephen Merchant and the idea when he comes in, going, oh, there's a swan on the loose.
Oh, Mr. P.
And it's like, Philip Ian Staker, piss taker.
Come on.
Yeah. But the next scene, exactly the next shot where he goes, right, so what's this swan look like? And he's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, I can't believe this is legit because it's got a long neck. And you're just like, oh, my God. Because, like, the amount of times you do see that swan and then they actually do get it. And then it's also the swan that basically helps bring the bad guy down at the end. Yeah. And you're like, this is amazing.
Which is a reference to, it's a very Aliens homage to the bit where what's-her-face is trying to fly. She's trying to bring the drop ship in to rescue them, and there's an alien there.
Yeah.
And, they do the whole down the mouth kind of shot.
The
swan there. So I was just kind of like, this is you can't get better. This is just kind of like spaced but turned up to 11.
Yeah. I think this is another reason like why I prefer Shaun of the Dead. I feel like they've learned. Basically, Shaun of the Dead is a longer episode spaced. Right, where it was basically
which isn't a bad thing because it is great. No, it's easily one of the best British films ever made. However, I would say this is better. Simple.
Yeah, because I can't remember what he did exactly after this, but was it Scott Pilgrim? Would he have done after this?
I want to say that was 2009. So I think you're right there. Yeah,
so it was
which is an underrated film.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why people didn't get on that. I think that was just ahead of its time.
It was a mixture of that, but also it was a source material that I don't think that is very well known over here.
2010 Scott Pilgrim.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, towards the end now of like Hot Fuzz, because again, it's brought in a little bit of a gore with obviously Skinner and how he dies. But there's one, and I can't understand what the guy says, but it made me piss me sides the other night. And it's where he thinks he's taking out Skinner before he comes up for one last scare, as to put it. And it's when he talks to that little ginger kid.
He says, "What's your name?" And he's like, Aaron A. Aronson. He's like,
"What?" Yeah, and he just goes, "What?" because it's got like an American accent that he puts on as well or something. And I'm like seeing Nicholas's confusion. Mine was like, what? And I was just laughing my head off over it, because he was like, "Oh, watch out, mister," and just seeing that bit where he stumbles on his Safeway truck or whatever it is, or his company's miniature truck.
Yeah,
Summerfield.
He's brought down by his own. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, this is brilliant.
Poetic justice there.
And it still makes me wince seeing the spike through his jaw, and then also again seeing him as like a bit of a in a way sort of like could be seen as a James Bond baddie,
I was just going to say, it's a bit of clever casting by subverting that, taking an actor who played James Bond and turning him into a James Bond villain, because he's got a henchman.
The scenery a little bit where he's like loving this, but like I said, he's got the henchman where it's like, Michael, do you take him out, yarp? And it's sort of like it shows like, goes off slightly to another genre, doesn't it? Where it's a case of like a little nod to that sort of, oh, we've destroyed Mr. Bond and killed him, and then obviously you've got Bond going, oh, right, now I know their plan, I can take him down, And
can we just take a moment to actually mention who plays Michael?
Go on, because I can't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's Rory McCann, who plays the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
So,
quite an early, a couple of years before Game of Thrones.
He's not really given much to do in this, but then he goes on, obviously, to be one of the most interesting and well-received characters in the biggest TV show ever. So, yeah. I'm just looking through. Oh, he was actually in Return of Xander Cage, was he? Okay.
Oh, God, I didn't watch the Triple X film.
Skip that.
Yeah. It didn't. I'm just looking through his IMDb.
I mean, like I say, I think that's like most of the film, like in a nutshell. I mean, it has got, like I say, the horror, the action, and because even the action stuff in that last little bit with the big shootout, it ticks off everything. It ticks off for jumping through the air with two guns. It ticks off for
all of the things that Danny asked if you've done. Have you ever jumped through the air firing a gun? Have you ever jumped? Everything that he says knows in that kind of little sequence of Danny asking him questions, it's all paid off here. So have you ever fired your gun in a high speed pursuit? Yeah. He has now. So
I mean, what I love is right at the end with Steve Coogan, Bill Nighy, and Martin Friedman coming over, going, "Oh, I've been trying to ring you and stuff," because obviously that's one of the joke, going, "Someone from London on the phone," and then it was a case of, yeah, we need you to come back because
it's a bit squiffy.
Yeah, it's gone a bit squiffy, and you're like, okay. And full well he's not going to go back, because obviously he's found his place and obviously he's cleaned up this town. And, I think it's a little bit cheesy, and it sort of is a bit abrupt, when you think, oh, has Danny died, when I've skipped forward a little bit here. But the last 5 minutes where it's obviously Nicholas Angel settled into living in Sanford, and it shows him in the station. Oh no, it's not that far forward, is it? Because Edward Woodward's still alive.
Well, they go back and they start doing the paperwork.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's
it's implied that this has happened just after, this has all happened, because otherwise, where would Edward Woodward character have been kind of hiding out during if there was a big time? So they're all going back to start all the paperwork, and then he comes out with a shotgun to shoot Nicholas, and Danny does the whole action trope thing, taking a bullet for his partner.
But it's allegedly, I couldn't find if this was 100%, but I'm sure I've read this
It is.
fact before.
I think I know where you're going with
God,
it.
No,
Yeah.
You know, like the nod to Wicker Man. Because that bit when the sea mine goes off, again, something else being referenced, again, to wrap that bit up. Because it's just the realization. And he must have loved that, to go, get to see like one of his, famous lines, and then be killed off in this. Because I feel like everyone in this film looked like they're having so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you've got people
Timothy
like
Dalton said it's the
actors
most fun he's ever
guns.
had making a film.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because again, we even talked about like his like little lines were like going, I'd love to bash your head and see what secrets come spilling out. And you're like, oh God. It's just absolutely fantastic,
Hasn't Simon Pegg come out and said this is his favourite film he's ever filmed and he's ever been on?
I don't know.
I'm
sure
not sure,
that, yeah.
But
I'm sure
I think it's the strongest out of the three.
Yeah, definitely. It's my favourite, and I would say technically it's the best out of all of them as well. I know some people.
Well.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of them have got a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's one thing that you can't say about these films. They haven't got a bad soundtrack. All of the films have got a decent soundtrack behind them. And I know The World's End gets a bit of shit. People, I don't know, unfairly look at it as the worst and say, diminishing returns and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that's necessarily true. I just don't think it's in keeping with the tone that you were expecting after this film. I think At World's End suffers because of the expectations after Hot Fuzz, because Hot Fuzz is so good that when World's End comes and it gives you characters that aren't immediately likable because they're having personal issues and this, that, and the other, it was such a 180 because I think you just a lot of people wanted more of Hot Fuzz, but easily my favourite, easily the best film out of the three. But that's not to say that the other two films aren't bad by any stretch. I just think this one's lightning in a bottle for me. There's just something about this film that I don't think they were able to catch again. No matter how hard they try. Because I mean, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are very likable together on screen. Even Paul, which isn't a great film, is watchable because of them two.
It's funny because you talk about that Paul in quite high regard because of Susan Sarandon, not Susan Sarandon, Sigourney Weaver. Where the hell did I get Susan Sarandon from? because they both nerded out over it, going, "Fuck, we're doing a film with Ripley." Yeah. They were like, "Oh my God,
an alien film with Ripley."
Yeah, but I just, God, I wasn't that impressed by it.
I thought it was all right because of them. They kind of dragged it through. There's some, Jason Bateman doesn't fit into that film at all. I don't think. But yeah,
do you think it was missing the Edgar Wright directional?
Possibly, but then at the time I watched any Simon Pegg film, including one with David Schwimmer. I can't remember what it's called now. The Big Nothing rings a bell, and anything with Simon Pegg in I'd watch. So things like Loose Ends and Alienate People.
Run Fat Boy Run.
Yeah, I watched that as well.
Slaughterhouse Rules.
Yeah. Oh,
Run
Christ,
Fat Boy Run was terrible.
Not as bad as Slaughterhouse Rules. Slaughterhouse Rules
that is
the shittiest film I've seen.
Yeah.
I turned it off after 25 minutes.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, I think we.
What was that one he did with Kate Beckinsale?
That was a direct-to-DVD film.
Was that just a man?
It's on Absolutely Anything, I think.
The geek. What is something about a geek in it or something?
What
was the thing you want? He's just now.
Absolutely Anything. It's called. It's on Amazon Prime. Because I couldn't.
Have you watched it, Mike?
And yes, it's not good.
Oh, no, okay.
Which is weird because it's written by one of the Pythons. So directed by one of the Pythons, if I remember rightly. Terry Jones wrote and I think he co-wrote it, but he definitely directed it because that was the reason that I threw it on. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. Python can't really be terrible, but it's just
no, I've definitely not seen that. Absolutely anything. I think I'd given up. But I got no, I had. but turned it off. And then another one was called Man Up that I've seen. I tell you what, if you've not seen it, it's not bad. When Nick Frost, Cuban Fury.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not brilliant, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's watchable. It'll pass an hour and a half. So
yeah. And then obviously, that was it.
Star Trek. He caught up in Star Trek, doesn't he? Scotty.
Yeah, and another one called A Fantastic Fear of Everything.
Yeah, I've seen that one as well.
Yeah,
I thought that would be better than what it was, but I mean, it's directed by one of the guys out of fucking Cooler Shaker, so
yeah,
take of that what you will. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that at all.
Do you guys think that Simon Pegg has hit his peak with Hot Fuzz?
I think Simon Pegg definitely hit his peak with the Cornetto Trilogy. Everything.
Yeah.
As soon as he got involved in Hollywood, that was when we started to see, the quality go down. And again, take of that what you will. But when you have, I know a lot of people don't like Simon Pegg. Some people find him annoying, but some of his kind of sensibilities and the stuff that he's done, like Spaced, is right up my street. The Cornetto Trilogy is right up my street.
Yeah.
When they kind of get assimilated by the Hollywood machine, some of the creative kind of uniqueness is lost.
Yeah.
Because if you were... He wrote the third Star Trek Beyond, and it doesn't feel like he wrote it. Do you know what I mean? There's no sense of individualism there. And it's a shame that at this point it doesn't look like we're going to have another collaboration between Frost, Pegg and Wright, because I think
the rumors about a vampire film or something doing
I
rumors about a Shaun the Dead and a sequel or something.
Yeah,
that was only a few weeks ago.
Could be just rumors though.
No, I think there's more to it this time because of the whole reboot thing or revisiting old IPs. I think something might happen now, but it's one of them. I think time's moved on and they've kind of missed the boat for stuff like that. If they're going to be in another film, I'd like to see them do something original rather than go back to the well and do a sequel to something that's come before, because it's how I feel in general. When you leave it too long for sequels now, all you're going to do, unless the sequel turns out to be great, like Blade Runner 2049, which is an exception to the rule, all you do is tarnish the memory of the original.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to see a sequel to Shaun of the Dead. I wouldn't want to see a sequel to Hot Fuzz and
need to be
World's
standalone films.
Absolutely, yeah. Make it an anthology. I mean, there's plenty of flavors of Cornettos now, so they could do another standalone film. But I don't think the want or desire is there anymore. I think they're at different points in their careers now where they're not in the position to actually make something like this, or they're not able to make something like this anymore, because they command higher salaries now. They've all got massive careers. Nick Frost went on to do that Into the Badlands for however many seasons, and
Attack the Block. Then was it Attack the Block? He did that as well.
Well, that wasn't a massive film, but Attack the Block was quite a while back as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think Joe Cornish actually has a cameo in this as well, because we haven't touched upon. I know, Paul, you mentioned Cate Blanchett is in the film.
Yeah.
She has a cameo that you wouldn't. I certainly didn't get. I was kind of like, fucking hell, those eyes are magnificent when I first watched the film, but I couldn't place because she's doing a British accent as well. And it was only after the fact when it came out on DVD on the trivia track, because this is another one where it's got the subtitle trivia track.
Yeah.
So Cate Blanchett has got a cameo as Nicholas Angel's girlfriend that he's split up from. Peter Jackson.
Is he Santa Claus?
He's the crazed Santa Claus that stabs him in the hand.
Yeah.
Garth Jennings. I don't know if you guys know him, but if you watch the Martin Freeman version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
Okay, he was the director of that film. He has a cameo as the guy with the shotgun that Nicholas, when it's showing the montage, when he kicks in the door and it's showing the montage of his kind of like special weapons training. He's the guy with the shotgun. So there's lots of little kind of insider cameos in this film, as well as the cast. Just look at the cast that they've kind of assembled for this film. It's mental because I think there's 3 Oscar winners in this film. So you got Cate Blanchett, you got Jim Broadbent, and Peter Jackson obviously for winning Lord of the Rings as well. But just the Olivia Colman, she won the Oscar for The Favourite as well. So that's 4 Oscar winners in this.
It's great. It really is, because I think that's just it. I think this is where it seemed to. It's not just featuring the mates, say like Finger did, Shaun of the Dead. Yeah. It really is a case of people have seen Shaun of the Dead going, really good film. It's basically being made by people that did a UK comedy series that is very pop culture heavy, and then to do Shaun of the Dead, quite pop culture heavy, but nowhere near as much. And then to go, right, well, it's going to be from the makers of Shaun of the Dead, and people have gone, go on. Because when you've got people like Bill Nighy involved, because he's already done Shaun of the Dead and gone, it was a lot of fun, and I want to do a cameo for this. And you got Bill Nighy, go on, I'll do a little cameo. And like Edward Woodward, we're massive fans of Wicker Man, we're going for this vibe, and we want you to try and do this. And go on, I'll do a little bit in it. It'll be quite fun. Because it'll be sold like, well, what type of film is it? Well, it's a bit of a mixture of horror. It's a bit of a mixture of this. Someone the other day at work bought, I can't recall much about it, but The Kill List, which is, if you've never seen a film called The Kill List, it's brilliant. And again, it's a mixture of genres. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but I think it came out in about 2010, possibly a bit later. But it's just called Kill List. Absolutely amazing. Just going to quickly, and the only reason I'm mentioning it is because I'm sure it's done by Ben Wheatley.
It is.
2011. So all I'd say is with this, for a film like Hot Fuzz that does a mixture of genres and does it well, it's only been given 6.4 on IMDb, but I give it a lot more,
I have seen it. I've only seen it once, but I thought it was all right. And it's the worst reason in the world to watch it. But the only reason I watched it is because Myanmar Burin's in it, and she is stunning. She's she's not really kind of like well known, but she pops up. She's popped up in a couple of Neil Marshall films. She was in. She was one of the girls in. The Descent, and she does pop up in Doomsday, but she was in The Descent, and she's shown up in some TV shows. She was in episode of Doctor Who, and so she's kind of like more a character actor, but she's fucking hot. So that's why I watched that. But I enjoyed it. It was good. I might go back and revisit that. Because it's been.
So I should do the same because it's been 7 or 8 years. It was just because I sold it to a customer the other day, and he went, it's meant to be good. This. I was like, yes, buy that. It was like I think £6 or something. I went 2 for 10, so then it's a £5. But I enjoyed that. But any other business? I'm
going to say, what's your guys' favourite scenes from Hot Fuzz?
Oh, right.
Go with you first, Mike.
Favourite scenes? Anything with the Andys, man. The Andys are just hilarious in this. Is it Andy Wainwright and Andy Cartwright? Just little shit like that where the names are so similar as well.
I like the part in the when they're in the supermarket near the end as well, and one of them when they're shooting at the cutlery throwers, and one of them gets hit with bolognese. He's like, "Oh, Andy!" And he says, "It's all right, just bolognese."
The butchers were the twin zombies in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes,
they were.
It's nice that they kind of bring back the cast from previous films and obviously previous TV shows, because Marsha, the woman who plays Marsha from Space, she's the woman from the pub, isn't she? 55 when I'm actually 53.
Well,
that's
I know it gets.
Does Murray make an appearance, Mike? Do you know the Murray from the supermarket in Shaun of the Dead?
I don't think she does in this, but I know she shows up in the support group in Will's End. Yeah, that's right.
Well, we mentioned a supermarket. Obviously, everyone sees the Shaun of the Dead DVD in the bargain bin,
Zombie
which
Party.
I think is quite funny.
Zombie of the Dead, is it something?
Oh, is it Zombie of the Dead? Right,
no, it's called Zombie Party, which I think was
That's it. Yeah, original title.
I think it was the Spanish title for the film. So it's actually the title of the film, just in a different country.
Well, that's a nice thing. But yeah, just seeing all things like the videos and the DVDs in the petrol station, like little things that I go, oh god, yeah, because you're not obviously going to see stuff like that anymore. But like when I was a kid growing up, and you go into the petrol station, you still have things like video spinners with a few, say, cinema club titles, budget video titles and stuff like that. But no, I agree with you. The Andy scenes are great, but I still think my favourite one is still going to be the whole greater good stuff. Just that 5 minutes where it's just line after line. But the other thing that we didn't mention it's a stupid joke, really, because again, it's the sort of just shows how shit Tim Messenger is. Because it's like after one of the murders, they're interviewing Kevin Eldon, who's great in it. And again, another really good an English comedian. Yeah. It's a case of my perfect Sunday afternoon is, and it's just like you just have this murder. It's like, oh, tell us about your perfect Sunday afternoon, because right at the end when they're interviewing him again, it's like my perfect weekend is or something. Yeah. It's like this shit question. So we're not even asking about like what's just happened. It's just like, oh, what do you think about this or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, it's great.
What do the Andys refer to Nicholas as and Danny? When that? No, it's
right in his hat.
Was it like Mr. Fanny Batter or something? What's he called? When the scene of the incident where the guys obviously died in the house fire, and the next day he said, apparently it's so I can't remember. He calls them two names, and they're like Mr. Fanny Batter. And he says that's us. And he walks off camera, and then he walks back as his head comes back onto the camera again, and you see Andy walks off. Yeah.
I think there's that bit, and I still love the morning angle, your right angle, morning angle,
morning angle,
because it's just so stupid, But then again, I've seen Kurt Angle spell angel at times. Like like when I read wrestling reviews or whatever, and you've just gone, bloody hell, that's brilliant.
Didn't in turn Chris Jericho used to refer to Kurt Angle, done as Kurt Angel. Back in 2000 when he had that feud of him. But yeah, one other good scene as well I like back in the supermarket again, when Nicholas turns up and he says, I just took out Lurch, and he's like, what did you do? I dropped him in the freezer. Did you say cool off? No, I didn't say anything. You missed a scene earlier on when I distracted him with the culamonte and hit him over the head with a piece of lead. You're off the fucking chain. And then he says, what's the situation? 2 blokes and a footload of cutlery. It's brilliant.
It's so many, really good bits, because again, even where it's like when we turn up at the supermarket, and then like Nicholas goes in first. He goes, let's see if they're in. And then Lurch, because that's his nickname. Why can't I think of this? Michael throws him straight out. He's ready for this big fight. Yeah, And
Michael, just, you really, really want to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it.
Again, things like, even Doris getting in with the girl on girl action when she smacks around the face with the wet floor sign. But, it's just, everyone has a moment in film, whether it's a line, bit of action, whatever.
Sticking to the Angels, the Andys, you don't obviously like Nicholas Angel, do they? But that scene in the supermarket there when he said, have you got this covered, detective? He said, yeah, we got it covered. And he turns around, when Andy turns and says, hey, Nicholas, don't be going being a twat now. I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't give it satisfaction. And then he runs off. It's kind of like that. The relationship between them had changed at that point. They trusted Nicholas more.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to get down there when they're chasing Timothy Dalton. And he's like, we need to get down there. Are we going to get down there? Skip. And he's fucking dropped down into that window. Brilliant.
Right. Anything else? I'm going to have to be looking at getting to bed. No. I know that's boring, but yeah. Otherwise, we will just carry on picking it to bits.
Yeah.
I think
Anything
that's
else?
it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
wrap
mean
it
to
up.
just be so abrupt then, but I feel like if anyone doesn't like Hot Fuzz, they might want to miss the last hour and a half of this and just listen to the first hour and a half.
Something for everyone in these podcasts, man. So.
Oh, I know. Don't worry, I'm not telling you audience to turn off because we're gonna miss some gold. Yeah, it's such a good film. It's brilliant, really is. But I agree with you, Mike. I don't think we need to do another part. I'd just basically keep it as a trilogy of it, the loosely connected trilogy.
Well, again, when I was doing a bit of research for this, apparently Simon Pegg said that if any of the then this was a while back, but he said that if any of the films could be sequelized, then Hot Fuzz would be the one. And then he's rolled back on that now and said, I don't think that we're going to do a sequel to any of them. So.
The audience will see. The audience won't be there.
Too late, and it's one of those. It's kind of like, even though it's got that following now, that it's one of those that the following doesn't necessarily translate to these are that Die Hard that they're going to go to the cinema and watch the film now.
No, exactly.
These are the films that are built. They're following over word of mouth over years upon years upon years. So
just leave it at the trilogy. The trilogy. And they say if they do a sequel to this, or if they do a fourth film in this, it might water down what's coming before it. As you've said, Mike, that's the thing with the sequels.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where I don't think they're going to do anything like that. They're just at different places in the kind of the careers now. So, but we've got these films, and they're so enjoyable that you can
so rewatchable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's little things that you pick up on that you hadn't necessarily seen before, like I mentioned before, the Romeo and Juliet poster, Paul. You can go look for that now.
Rewatch it tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's just a little red poster in the shop window after they've been bumped off, and it's just such a throwaway thing, but it's there, and it's that kind of thing that rewards people who do love the films and will go back and watch them over and over again. Little things that you pick up on time after time. So,
I just got a bit of trivia here as well. You probably watched this when you were younger, Paul, as well. The Brentford Rejects. Did you watch that?
No, but I know.
You're aware of it anyway. I don't know if you're
aware of
the football program. It was on Channel 4. I think it was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, like a five-a-side football team. And one of the girls in that, she was in Hot Fuzz, and she played Martin Draper's love interest. Eve. Martin Bull was
yeah. I really
we got fingered up the duck pond.
Yeah. I really, really, really just don't like.
Said that annoying laugh.
As that
really annoying laugh. Yeah. She was in that as well. So that's my last bit of trivia anyway for running.
Aye.
Well, I think that's as good a place as any to wrap it up. So
yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Paul. It's as always, it's been a pleasure.
Paul.
I'm sorry for going on quite a bit, but with this one, it's obviously, if it's a film that I really, really like, I always want to try and get on, and it's one that I didn't even write that many notes down for because I know it quite well. It was just like, oh wow, So I learnt my lesson after Bill and Ted, where I wrote about a page and a half of notes, and this time, well, bring on World's End, because
you're back on board for that, aren't you?
Quite close to my heart, with
yes.
Yeah.
We'll get you back on that, Paul.
I think you've earned yourself a Cornetto after this one, mate. It might be a little bit late to have it now, but
well, I had a clip-o before I started, so I'm not joking.
That's not really keeping in the tone of the film, though, is it?
I've let myself down. I know. I just thought of a really shit trilogy, of a Calippo trilogy. Orange, Lime, and did we do another Calippo? I don't know.
I don't like Calippo, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
it's basically flavoured ice.
I think, you can't beat a Cornetto, though, can you?
Yeah, stick with Cornettos, Paul.
I know. But anyway. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime.
All good.
We'll have you back on for the World's End when we get
back. That's good. Yeah. But like I said, I've just guested while I've not been doing anything on our own show recently because of time. It's like I said to Lee when we did Mortal Kombat last month. I enjoy just being on here and just having a chat about film.
Oh, that's it. But just sitting down with your mates and you having a chat.
Yes.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The roundtable chat. Yeah,
thank you,
Paul.
Guys.
Thank you very much, Lee. As always a pleasure to be back. It's good to be back, and on the podcast. So hopefully we can get back into a more regular schedule now. So
that's it. Now things have settled down between us. Yeah, we can sort things out, can't we?
Yeah. We are going to try and push out another episode in time for Halloween, and we're going to try and get Ghostbusters covered. So that should be the next episode coming out. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for listening, guys, and as always, thanks for all the comments and the nice things that I said and the support. It is much appreciated.
It helps a lot. It does spur you on.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. And again, if you can just, if you've enjoyed our little chats here, just tell one person about the podcast and see if we can grow this little kind of.
Yeah, leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Yeah, find us on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah, we're not really that active on them, but we are there. But that's it. So say goodbye.
Bye.